Chapter 3275. These people were truly stunned. They didn't expect that this was actually a battle between the 9 sons and the great demon lineage. Is that true? They didn't even dare to believe it. This was a legendary battle. Among them, a small portion of people's expressions suddenly changed. Damn it, it's really them. I've heard about it before. Someone used an array formation. It recorded the battle between these two people. I've seen a little bit of it before. It was exactly the same as now. One was covered in monstrous demonic aura, while the other was covered in flames. The two of them were the successors of the 9 sons and the great demon lineage. The one who spoke was a highly respected old man. His strength had reached the half-sage level, and he was very powerful. Furthermore, he was very knowledgeable. Hence, everyone was convinced by his words. Now, all of them knew that the battle ahead was between the great demon and the 9 sons lineage. At this moment, that old half-saint who was of virtue and prestige, he spoke again. It was rumored that they were fighting in the elven forest of the elven planet. And it was half a year ago. Unexpectedly, they actually fought here. What? Elven planet? The surrounding powerhouses gasped when they heard this. That place was very far from here. It would take more than half a year to fly there. Did these two people fight from that place all the way here? They didn't dare to imagine how earth-shattering this battle was. And from the looks of it, these two people didn't even have a spirit boat. Could it be that they relied on their physical bodies to fly? Heavens, this was an incomparably cold universe. Only saints would dare to do this. They were extremely shocked. Some young geniuses didn't think much of it. In their opinion, the legends were definitely exaggerated. In terms of true strength, these two people were only SOSO. But soon, when they saw the battle ahead, they were all stunned. Those arrogant young geniuses from before trembled, and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Because of the battle between these two, it was simply too terrifying. No one among the half-sages could compare to them. In fact, they guessed that even saints were only SOSO. Retreat, retreat quickly. These people retreated crazily. At the same time, people from the Langya planet also came out. These Dao children originally wanted to shout coldly. Who was fighting here? One had to know that no one was allowed to fight in the star field around the Langya planet. This was the rule. However, at this moment, there were actually people fighting. This made them extremely furious. However, when the two Daoist children came out, they were stunned. The scene in front of them also shocked them. Not good. At this moment, in the world below, several elders rushed over. He hurriedly brought the two kids away. At the same time, the news spread to the people below. Soon, the Langya star shone brightly, and countless arrays appeared around it. These were all earth-shattering formations. They shone brightly and covered the entire Langya star, as well as the surrounding space. Whoosh! Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They were also enveloped by the array formation. The defensive array of the Langya star was a world-level array. It was extremely terrifying and was set up by a sage. At the same time, they were incomparably shocked. One should know that even the top geniuses and terrifying half-saints would be punished if they fought on the Langya star. At the very least, they would be chased out. At the very least, they would be crippled and thrown out. But now, the great demon and the successor of the 9 Yang lineage had received tacit approval. Even the Langya star had activated the array formation. It seemed that they did not want to interfere in this matter at all. Thinking of this, they gasped. The great demon and the 9 Yang lineage were indeed worthy of their reputation to be treated like this by the Langya star. Seeing that the Langya star had activated the defensive array formation, Lin Xian no longer had any worries. On the other hand, the great demon did not have any worries at all. He did not care about the Langya star. He would kill anyone who dared to stop him. The great spear of destruction in his hand swept out. The light of destruction directly shattered the void in front of him. Lin Xian swung the sword shadow in his hand and slashed out, shattering the space around him. The terrifying sword chi formed a world and flew forward. The collision of the two turned into a ray of light in the cold universe, illuminating millions of miles of the dark void. Inside the Langya star's array formation, the powerhouses and geniuses saw this scene and felt their scalps go numb. This was the attack of two half-saints? What a joke! This kind of energy could kill all of them. If not for the array formation's defense, they would have been dead by now. Could it be that two sages were fighting? They trembled in fear. The dark light from the great spear of destruction was destroyed by the great dragon sword soul. Not only that, the endless demonic chi in front of them was also split open, creating a large crack. The great demon spat out a mouthful of blood as if he had been struck by lightning. His expression became incomparably ugly. He once again activated the blood sacrifice array formation beside him, forming a set of battle armor that completely enveloped him. In the next moment, he roared angrily. Supreme demonic body. Black light appeared all over his body. He absorbed the surrounding energy and the aura of the sun and moon. His body was infinitely huge. He turned into a terrifying giant demon. His strength also skyrocketed. With a loud boom, this power was even stronger than before. Do you think you're the only one who has a physique? I have one too. Lin Xian shouted coldly, and the light on his body suddenly erupted. The 9 yang divine fire burned. Lin Xian's body also continued to grow. He turned into an indomitable golden giant. At this moment, he was like a god of fire walking in the mortal world. This scene was too terrifying. It was simply like a legend. When the powerhouses in the array formation saw this scene, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. This was because in the originally cold void of the universe, only the stars were dazzling and huge. The others were as insignificant as dust. Only the powerful light on their bodies could illuminate everything. As for their bodies, they were very small. But now, the bodies of the successor of the 9 yang divine fire, and the successor of the great demon, had become very terrifying. It was as if two giant gods were fighting. This was not just an ordinary body enlargement, which was meaningless. After the two of them transformed, their strength also increased terrifyingly. An ordinary semi-sage wouldn't be able to do this. One must have an extremely powerful physique to be able to do this. The supreme devil body, the 9 yang divine body. These were the strongest and most powerful physiques in the myriad of worlds. Perhaps only such physiques could cause such a phenomenon of heaven and earth. To be able to see such a top-notch battle, even if I die, I will have no regrets. Many veteran half-sages exclaimed in surprise. Their eyes lit up, and they were extremely excited. The young geniuses were extremely shocked. They thought that they were powerful geniuses and did not put anything in their eyes. At this moment, in front of these two supreme existences, they were incomparably small. Any one of their physiques was an existence that they could only look up to. Some people frowned. Normally, these two people would be popular candidates to compete for the throne on the ancient path of the starry sky. But now in this fated battle, one of them would probably die. When these words came out, everyone trembled. Their eyes widened. What? One of them was going to die here? There was no other way. These two people had supreme physiques. It would be a pity if one of them died. But there was nothing they could do. The two of them were mortal enemies. Chapter 3276. Chaotic Demon Fist. After transforming, the great demon's power was even more terrifying than before. The moment the chaotic demon fist was unleashed, countless demonic shadows flashed between heaven and earth. The terrifying fist exploded in all directions. However, Lin Xian had also transformed. He also had the appearance of a flame giant, so the 9 yang divine palm he unleashed was also incomparably terrifying. The battle between the two was earth-shattering. The great destruction spear once again swept across all directions. The great dragon sword soul also roared, transforming into a dragon shadow that shook the 9 heavens. The two's law fragments danced in the air, clashing in all directions. The half-saints inside the array formation felt their scalps tingle. Boom! The great dragon sword soul became more and more courageous as it fought. The surrounding law of fire danced, and at this moment, it was like a huge dragon that constantly attacked. It caused the great destruction spear to tremble repeatedly. In the end, one of its arms was severed, and the great destruction spear was sent flying again. Damn it! The great demon roared. However, at this moment, the great dragon sword soul swept out and cut him in half. Ah! A miserable sound rang out, causing one's scalp to tingle. Although the great demon was cut in half, he did not die. His upper body erupted with a biting cold light. He opened his mouth and spat out a black demonic wave that directly pierced through Lin Xian. A bloody hole also appeared on Lin Xian's body. The battle between the two of them was extremely fierce. Both of their bodies were shattered, and both of them exploded into a bloody mist. Between heaven and earth, a terrifying sea of blood surged. However, in the end the two of them recovered once again. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. The three of them fought for 9 days and 9 nights. Inside the array formation, the spectators were stunned. Was this the power of the great demon, and the successor of the Nine Yang bloodline? It was too terrifying. A casual move from the two of them could kill any one of them. Why do I feel that if they continue fighting like this, even if they fight until the end of time, the two of them won't be able to determine the victor? Some of the geniuses sucked in a cold breath, but there were also a few top half-saints who frowned. No, the victor would be decided soon. They could feel that the successor of the Nine Yang bloodline's aura was becoming stronger and stronger. It could even be said that the great demon was being suppressed from the beginning to the end. However, the great demon was too powerful and his physique was terrifying. He could not die in a short period of time. Furthermore, a manual great destruction spear was extremely terrifying. It could penetrate Lin Xian's body. If not for the great destruction spear, the great demon would have been killed long ago. Boom. Boom. Suddenly, countless dragon shadows erupted from Lin Xian's feet, densely packed together, causing his speed to reach the extreme. At the same time, Lin Xian activated his heavenly secret divine eyes to analyze the opponent's flaws. In the blink of an eye, Lin Xian dodged 33 attacks. In the next moment, he disappeared from the world. When he reappeared, he was behind the great demon. His speed was so fast that most half-saints couldn't even catch him. Boom. Lin Xian's entire body shone with a golden light. Flames burned fiercely, and the great dragon sword soul in his hand roared. All of a sudden, the great demon's hair stood on end. He flipped his hand and attacked. The great spear of destruction also pierced out. It was like a black demon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. The great destruction spear was sent flying once more. The great demon was pierced through and split into pieces. Ah! The great demon screamed. He was broken into 8 pieces. He wanted to heal, but at this moment, Lin Xian attacked again. The great demon wanted to heal with this slash. Suddenly, he stopped in midair and hugged his head as he screamed, "Damn it! How dare you injure my soul?" He was crazy. His opponent's slash had actually injured his soul. This battle could end now. Lin Xian shouted coldly as he absorbed the spiritual energy of the world. The great dragon sword soul in his hand became more and more piercing. Nine Yang sword technique. The terrifying sword technique turned the great demon's body into a bloody mist. At the same time, he attacked his opponent's soul. Not good. The great demon was probably going to be defeated. Who would have thought that the successor of the Nine Yang sword soul would be able to injure the great demon's soul in the end? With his soul injured, the great demon's power would be greatly reduced. At that time, he wouldn't be a match for Lin Xian at all. Cries of surprise rang out one after another. They were simply too shocked by Lin Xian's methods. In the distance, a spirit boat floated in the void. When the dark red dragon saw this scene, it immediately became excited. Great, if this continued, he would definitely be able to kill Lin Xian. He was too excited. For the past half a year, he had been following behind silently. He had watched the battle between the two of them. Although Lin Xian had the upper hand, it was too difficult to kill the great demon. But now, Lin Xian had finally seized the opportunity to defeat his opponent's soul. Next, it was time to slay the great demon. Lin Xian stood in the void of the universe. Sword chi surrounded his body, making him look like a peerless god of war. He looked at the screaming great demon with a cold expression. The fated battle could end now. Since ancient times, the great demon and the Nine Yang lineage had been fighting each other. Among them, the Nine Yang lineage had more victories than losses. The previous Nine Yang sword saint was directly killed. However, the previous great demon was too heavily injured, and eventually died at Black Demon Cliff. As the successor of the Nine Yang lineage, Lin Xian had also encountered a peerless enemy. However, he had not been defeated. Not only that, but he also had the strength to kill his opponent. He wanted to let the entire universe know that this time, the Ninyang lineage would not lose. Everything was over. Lin Xian's figure was tall. With an aura that could devour mountains and rivers, he strode forward. Every step he took shattered the void. Opposite him, the great demon's screams softened. Clearly, he had stopped the injury to his soul. However, it was impossible for him to return to his peak. At that moment, his body was barely healing as his entire body trembled. Defeated? I've actually been defeated. The great demon's eyes lost their luster. He had charged out forcefully and killed his way over. Half-saints could not even withstand a single move from him. In his opinion, the successor of the Ninyang lineage was only SOSO. He could easily kill him. However, the other party was too powerful. Before he used the Great Destruction Spear, he was unable to do anything to the other party. In fact, he was even injured by the other party. Later on, he was furious and used the Great Destruction Spear to kill the other party. However, he did not expect the other party to have the Great Dragon Sword. In the end, his soul was injured and he ended up in his current state. Damn it, I can't accept this. Since ancient times, the Great Demon lineage had been incomparably powerful and suppressed the Ninyang lineage. However, he was actually suppressed by the other party. He had utterly disgraced the Great Demon clan. So what if he was unwilling? Lin Xian walked over with a cold expression. He quickly raised the Great Dragon Sword in his hand. Now I'll send you to hell. A cold voice sounded, causing everyone's scalps to go numb. Was the Great Demon going to die? Ha 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 ha, kid. Are you trying to kill me? Too naive. Chapter 3277. I've lost to you today and I no longer have the face to continue living in this world. However, you can forget about living either. I can go to hell, but you can go to hell with me. The Great Demon revealed a sinister smile. At this moment, he was really like a demon. His voice made people tremble. In the distance, those people exclaimed, "Heavens! Are they trying to perish together?" The Great Demon had failed, but it would not be easy to kill him. An elder said, 3,000 years ago, I once heard a dying living fossil say that the previous 9 suns and the Great Demon seemed to have perished together. What? There's actually such a thing? The surrounding people were stunned. They did not expect that the previous generation would have perished together as well. Could it be that this generation is going to perish together as well? Some people sighed. Thinking about it, it was normal. After all, both of them were peerless powerhouses who could support heaven and earth. When such people fought, there was an 80 to 90% chance that they would perish together. In the distance, in the spirit boat, the dark red dragon saw this scene and immediately became anxious. Damn it, what is this guy trying to do? Kid, hurry up and kill him. When Lin Xian heard this, he also frowned. You want to perish together with me? You don't have the right to do so. He attacked crazily, and the Great Demon opposite him revealed a sinister smile. A pair of black wings appeared on his back. He trembled gently and instantly disappeared into the void. When he reappeared, he was in another place. He had successfully dodged the sword. He stretched out his palm, and on his 5 fingers, there were 5 pitch-black demonic runes. Each of them was incomparably mysterious. The demonic runes spun crazily in his hand. I'll sacrifice my blood to the demon god. The Great Demon began the blood sacrifice again. However, this time, he did not kill the surrounding powerhouses. He used his own blood to carry out the blood sacrifice. The palm that was burning with the 5 demonic runes pierced through his body, and then grabbed his heart out. The heart was covered with countless black runes that were burning rapidly. A terrifying and shocking power erupted from the Great Demon's body. This scene was too strange. The Great Demon was actually using his own life to increase his power. It seemed that the other party did not want to live anymore. The aura on his body quickly erupted. Endless demonic aura surged, causing his power to continuously rise. It had already far surpassed what it used to be. Above his head, his heart continued to burn, providing him with constant power. The Great Demon's power kept on rising, and it looked like he was about to break through to the Saint realm. What kind of technique was this? Wasn't it too terrifying? This increase in strength was too terrifying. It seemed that the Nine Sons' descendant was in danger. The half-saints in the distance exclaimed. Lin Xian also frowned. He knew that he couldn't wait any longer, and had to act quickly. His strength was raised to the extreme, and the great dragon sword soul in his hand was constantly brandished. He had to stop the blood sacrifice. With a slash of his sword, the giant dragon soared through the air and flew forward, wanting to crush the other party's heart. The demon laughed and slapped out. A black demonic palm covered the sky, and it was like a black sky was pressing down. Boom. Their attacks collided, causing the sky to fall and the earth to split. Fortunately, the people around them were inside the peerless formation. Moreover, it was set up by a saint, which was why the Langius star was in perfect condition. Otherwise, the entire world would be affected. Brat, it's useless. You can go to hell with me. The great demon attacked in a frenzy, unleashing all sorts of terrifying powers. Chaotic Demon Fist, World-Destroying Demon Disc, Great Destruction Spear, and Demon Swallows the World. All kinds of divine abilities emerged one after another, and the area in front of them was drowned by endless demonic qi. Lin Xian was sent flying in an instant. His body was torn apart. However, he quickly used the great dragon sword qi to wipe out all the demonic qi. At the same time, his eyes burst out with a piercing cold light. The fated battle has ended. My Nine Sons' descendant has won this palm strike. Now that you want to kill me with your blood sacrifice, I won't hold back either. In addition to the law of fire fragment, several other law fragments appeared around Lin Xian. They surrounded him and danced crazily. His strength was also rapidly increasing. What? When the people inside the formation saw this scene, their eyeballs almost popped out. Heavens, this Nine Sons' descendant actually didn't use his full strength. There were many more law fragments than before. He had actually grasped several law fragments. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, the 5 elemental laws. Was he going to walk the path of the 5 elemental laws? The half-saints of the older generation were also stunned. They didn't expect that after the great demon, the Nine Sons' descendant would also use all his trump cards. The great demon also frowned. Other law fragments? It's useless. Although you can increase your strength, it won't increase by much. The current you is no match for me. The great demon snorted and used all sorts of divine abilities. The two of them fought an earth-shattering battle. This battle was even more tragic than the previous one. However, even though Lin Xian unleashed several types of nomological law fragments, he was still suppressed. There was no other way. The great demon opposite him was burning his life force to fight. The power that erupted was too strong. Sure enough, in the next moment, the great destruction spear appeared and disappeared unpredictably. A powerful force pierced through his body and nailed him in the void. The great spear of destruction pierced through Lin Xian's body, causing it to explode into pieces. It was too tragic. Lin Xian gave a cold shout. The law of wood instantly enveloped him. His shattered body rapidly recovered. Heaven and earth rumbled as a terrifying power surged towards him. After Lin Xian used all his strength, his recovery ability was astonishing. In an instant he was as good as new. I said it's over. No matter what trump card you use, this battle is over. Lin Xian's expression was cold. The 6 great law fragments revolved around the great dragon sword soul. At this moment, he didn't hold back at all. He poured all his strength into the great dragon sword soul. The great dragon sword soul let out a long cry. The 9 heavens and 10 earths shook. The surrounding array formation started to tremble. The people inside were terrified. What kind of sword was this? How could it be so terrifying? Lin Xian disregarded everything and urged the great dragon sword soul. Its power increased once again. With one sword, the various divine abilities of the great demon were all shattered. The great destruction spear was sent flying again. The great demon was also cut in half by the sword. This time, the great demon's soul was severely injured. If it weren't for the great demon burning his life force, this sword would have been able to completely kill him. The great demon recovered with difficulty. His expression was incomparably ugly. Good boy, I still underestimated you. I didn't expect you to be able to seriously injure me even now. But unfortunately, you still couldn't stop me. Now everything was over. Great Demon laughed. The others felt their hair stand on end. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. He discovered that the Great Demon's heart had completely disappeared. Chapter 3278. Only a small part of the figure appeared. It was a head and 2 hands, but it was still struggling to get out. As soon as the figure appeared, the surrounding starry sky and universe trembled. The people in the array formation were also out of control. Many young prodigies knelt on the ground. Among them, there were many half-step sage prodigies. However, at this moment, they were kneeling on the ground, unable to move. Even those veteran half-saints were doing their best to resist, and many of them exploded with a loud bang. What was that? They knelt on the ground and screamed crazily. It was too terrifying. The aura of a sage. That was at least the phantom of a sage. Damn it, what did this demon summon? The phantom of the demon ancestor. Damn it, he couldn't have summoned a first-generation great demon, could he? What? The first great demon? Hearing that, everyone's heads were about to explode. What level was that? Even among the sages, it was a super powerful existence. It might even be a demon emperor. How was that possible? How could the great demon have such a method? Damn it. We were fooled by him. An old man who was like a living fossil screamed crazily. His blood sacrifice just now was not a summoning, but to increase his cultivation. He used his life as the price to temporarily increase his strength to the sage realm. Now it was a summoning. Indeed, they saw the great demon's face turn pale. He was trembling, and the blood in his body was quickly flowing out. Many wrinkles also appeared on his face. It was as if he had aged hundreds or thousands of years in an instant. However, his hands continued to form seals. One terrifying seal after another was reflected in the void. He was summoning now. Crack, crack, crack. As the great demon summoned his life, more and more cracks appeared in the void above. More than half of the blurry figure's body had already squeezed out. Many cracks appeared on the surrounding sage array. This scene caused all the people inside the formation to be terrified. Oh heavens! Even the sage array could not withstand it? Not good, kid, run. It's too dangerous. In the distance, the dark red dragon saw this scene and quickly retreated. At the same time, he quickly transmitted his voice. It could not be helped. It was too dangerous. Even though he possessed the bloodline of the divine dragon, he could not help but shiver in the face of this illusory figure. This meant that the other party's bloodline power was no weaker than his. In addition to the aura, this was definitely a super saint-level phantom. Damn it! Even if he wasn't the first-generation great demon, he wasn't far from it. Lin Xian roared and used all of his strength to push the great dragon sword spirit to unleash a world-shaking attack. That sharp sword chi was tens of thousands of miles long. It slashed down from the sky and slashed forward. He wanted to send that figure flying. However, the moment his sword chi reached the vicinity of the demonic shadow, it began to crumble. It didn't even touch the demonic shadow before it disappeared without a trace. Brat, it's useless. What I've summoned is a first-generation great demon. You go to hell. I'm in hell, waiting for you. At this point, he had completely aged. His hair had turned white, and his body was hunched over. In an instant, he aged several thousand years. In the end, the great demon's body shattered into pieces and fell into the void. Dead. It was incomparably terrifying. The successor of this generation's great demon had exhausted his life force and turned into dust. Meanwhile, the phantom of the first-generation great demon, which he had used his life as the price to break through to the saint realm and then summoned, had completely broken free from the spatial rift and stood in the void. Although it was just a phantom, the moment it appeared, it suppressed the 9 heavens and 10 lands. At this moment, everyone uncontrollably knelt down. Boom, 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 boom. The surrounding saint's array shattered with a loud bang. Many terrifying cracks appeared on it, and it seemed like it would collapse at any moment. The half-step saints' prodigies in the array formation also screamed crazily. Some of the weaker half-step saints' bodies had already shattered and turned into a bloody mist. The others were also kneeling on the ground, unable to stand up at all. It was too terrifying. The phantom of the first-generation great demon was terrifying to the extreme. Lin Xian also felt a great pressure. His body shattered, and endless blood dyed his body red. However, he did not kneel down. He summoned the great dragon sword spirit back and fused with it. He became one with the sword. Lin Xian opened a domain and enveloped himself. Damn it, what is this? Lin Xian's face was extremely gloomy. The great demon had died, but he had left behind such a disaster. At this moment, the alarm had already sounded on the Langya star. All the powerhouses had gathered together, and the young disciples were trembling. In the depths of the earth, in some dragon and spirit veins, powerful and sleeping figures opened their eyes. His gaze pierced through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. However, when they saw the terrifying phantom standing above the 9 heavens, they all trembled. The first-generation great demon. Damn it, who summoned him? In an instant, figures flew up from the dozen or so dragon veins, bringing with them terrifying laws. They were true saints. As soon as they appeared, they attracted the worship of countless people. Patriarch, what should we do? Patriarch, please make a move and kill the powerful enemy. Protect the Langya star. Countless people shouted. However, the saints' faces were gloomy. They said coldly, everyone, enter the array formation and activate it to the extreme to seal the entire Langya star. Patriarch, why aren't you attacking? That's just a phantom. The few powerful half-sages could not understand. However, the saints frowned. You don't know, that's not an ordinary phantom. That's the first-generation great demon. Even if it's just a phantom, it's not something we can resist. Only death awaits those who oppose him. Unless we're a super saint, we might be able to resist him. What? Is he that terrifying? All the cultivators on the Langya star were stunned when they heard the words of the saints. They knew that they had underestimated the phantom. They did not understand the word first generation, and did not know how powerful the other party was. However, they believed that their patriarch would not make a mistake. Therefore, everyone went underground. Mountain and river formations flickered one after another. Looking from the 9 heavens, countless large formations lit up on the Langya star, completely enveloping the entire star world. The Langya star was very powerful. There was only one faction in the star world, so after countless years of reproduction, it could be said to be impregnable. They were even confident that they could resist an extreme weapon. There were even rumors that there were super saints on the Langya star. However, it was obvious that those were the trump cards to suppress everything. They would not be activated unless they had no other choice. Although the phantom of the first generation had appeared, it did not directly attack the Langya star. Therefore, the saints were not willing to fight to the death with the other party. Chapter 3279. The Langya star shone brighter and brighter. Countless arrays were formed by mountains and rivers. Once they were activated, their power was terrifying to the extreme. Outside the Langya star, the half-step saints who came to ask questions were in danger. They couldn't enter the Langya star at all. At this moment, the saints' arrays that enveloped them had already shattered. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, they all turned into a bloody mist and kept shattering. The scene was extremely terrifying. Between heaven and earth, there was a rain of blood. The phantom of the first demon god was not limited to that. In addition to the Langya star, there were 2 other planets nearby. These 2 planets were relatively weaker, and their martial arts were relatively less developed. However, they had also evolved into saints. At this moment, the warriors of these 2 worlds all looked up at the sky. What exactly happened? Why was there an extremely terrifying power coming over? The half-step saints couldn't help but kneel on the ground. In the worlds, a few saints woke up. Their expressions were extremely ugly. Oh no, some super terrifying existence had probably arrived nearby. Who exactly was it? They had arrived outside the realm. In the next moment, these saints froze. They saw a figure in the distance. It was abnormally blurry, but the aura it emitted was extremely terrifying. Even though they were saints, they couldn't help but tremble. Oh no, hurry up and leave. The two saints immediately made up their minds and fled into the distance. They did not even look back as they used their strongest abilities to escape. The other three saints hesitated for a moment. But this time, they lost their chance to escape. In front of them, the illusory figure that looked like a demon god suddenly let out a roar. Endless demonic chi surged in the 9 heavens and 10 lands. It engulfed everything. Oh no, hurry up and leave. The remaining 3 saints' expressions changed drastically as they hurriedly fled. They originally wanted to go down and save their sects and families. But now they couldn't care less. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. Damn it, this was the world-engulfing demon. He recognized it because he had fought with the great demon for half a year. Of course, he knew this ability. However, the world-engulfing demon that the demon god used was tens of thousands of times stronger than the great demon. Terrifying nomological laws danced in the air. Demonic chi surged into the sky and engulfed everything in an instant. Lin Xian flew quickly, but he was still surrounded by the demonic chi. It wanted to devour him. Damn it. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. He fused with the great dragon sword spirit and poured all his power into it. In the next moment he was engulfed. Outside the Langya star, the half-saints who were still alive were swallowed in an instant, wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. The Langya star was shrouded in endless darkness, and the demonic aura was still spreading. The 3 sages who were fleeing in the distance were instantly enveloped by the demonic aura, as soon as they moved. Immediately afterwards, their scalps went numb. They did everything they could to resist, using all types of natural laws. This was the true might of the laws. It was many times stronger than that of a half-saint. But in the end, they were still swallowed up. Boom. Not only them, but the 2 worlds around them were also enveloped by demonic chi. The boundless universe was temporarily plunged into darkness. There was not even a trace of light. Damn it. The dark red divine dragon felt its scalp go numb as it fled like a madman. Previously, when the great demon had just summoned this devil shadow, he had already begun to flee. Now he had already left the star field far away, so he managed to avoid the calamity. Damn it. Looking at the endless demonic aura in front of him, the dark red divine dragon's face was extremely pale. It was too terrifying. Such a scene had only appeared during the great darkness turmoil back then. However, at that time, those ancient sages and human sages had held back. Because once they attacked with all their strength, they would destroy the entire star world. Therefore, the scene back then was not as terrifying as it was now. This was equivalent to the attack of an extreme weapon. It's over. The people inside probably won't survive. Damn brat. You must let the great dragon sword soul retain a drop of your blood or remnant soul. The dark red divine dragon prayed in his heart. There was another reason why he had escaped. That was, the black earth was in his hands. Previously, when Lin Xian was chasing after the great demon, he had handed the black earth to the dark red divine dragon as a precaution. The octatic treasure snake was sealed inside. There were 7 eyes of time behind the octatic treasure snake. As long as he had the eyes of time, so what if he died? He could still revive him. Thinking of the eyes of time, the dark red divine dragon heaved a sigh of relief. He began to wait, waiting for the dark demonic aura to recede. However, this demonic aura was too terrifying. It couldn't dissipate in a short period of time. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed, and there was no change in front. 3 months had passed, half a year had passed, and there was still dead silence in front. At the same time, the battle between the 9 suns and the great demon had completely spread, because the scene recorded by the 8 great families array formation had also completely spread. Many Star World powerhouses and Heaven's prides had seen this battle. Was this the great demon and the successor of the 9 suns? It was too terrifying. That's right. I wonder who this successor of the 9 suns is. They couldn't see clearly. His entire body was wrapped in flames. They could only see a pair of golden flame-like eyes and a majestic figure. Other than that, they couldn't see anything else. They couldn't guess who he was at all. These 2 people were definitely the greatest enemies on the path of the great emperor. Many top explorers and peerless powerhouses had cold faces. They wanted to walk the path of the great emperor. They would definitely encounter these 2 people in the future. Could they beat them? They deduced in their hearts and soon smiled bitterly. Damn it, they couldn't beat them. These two people's abilities were too powerful. Facing such people, they had no chance of winning at all. They didn't know where these two people were now. What was the result? Everyone was discussing animatedly. Many heaven's prides and powerhouses from all over the universe began to search. Soon, they realized that the situation was not right. This was because some heaven's prides and powerhouses wanted to go to the Langya star to seek answers to their questions, but they found that the Langya star had disappeared. The star field where the Langya star was located was drawn into darkness. It was extremely dark and some people tried to force their way in. A half-step saint was instantly killed by the black aura. This scene made everyone's hair stand on end. When a half-step saint entered, he didn't even cause a ripple. This was definitely an extremely terrifying aura. But why would such a thing appear? Could it be that the Langya star was surrounded by this black aura? More and more powerhouses came to investigate. In the end, even the saints came. 3 saints descended from the sky. They looked at the demonic aura in front of them with incomparably cold expressions. In the end, they concluded that this demonic aura seemed to be the demonic aura of the Great Demon clan. What? The demonic aura of the Great Demon? How was this possible? How could that Great Demon be so terrifying? This demonic aura, which had the might of a saint. Impossible. Wasn't the Great Demon a half-step saint? Chapter 3280. After coming to this conclusion, everyone in the universe was stunned. It was indeed the aura of the Great Demon clan, but where did this demonic chi come from? We don't know. What kind of divine ability did this Great Demon use? The black chi near the Wolfang star attracted everyone's attention. Many experts came over to investigate, but in the end they didn't know what kind of divine ability it was. The Great Demon and the successor of the 9 sons. Could it be that they had perished together? They didn't know that all of this was a mystery. At the same time, some families in sacred grounds were also anxious. They discovered that the people they sent to the Langya star had disappeared. There was no news at all. Why do I feel that something went wrong? Yes, it was too strange. Some sacred grounds and sects joined forces with many worlds and invited a few sages to take action. Vast sage laws danced between heaven and earth, and the demonic chi in front of them trembled violently. However, these sages frowned. They couldn't get rid of the demonic chi. The demonic chi even began to surge, sending a few sages flying. Those sages vomited blood, and their expressions became extremely ugly. Not good. They quickly retreated. When the others learned of this scene, their eyes almost popped out. Even the sages were defeated. What was this? It was over. Everything within the range of the demonic chi would probably be turned into ashes. Nothing could be left. This was the consensus of everyone. After all, if even the sages couldn't resist the demonic chi, who else could? It seemed that they could only wait for the demonic chi to dissipate on its own. Everyone left. They were no longer disappointed. The star field where the Langya star was located had become a land of death. A sage used his laws to set up a stone tablet here, warning people on the ancient starry sky path not to approach. The cold universe returned to silence once again. Of course, no one knew that there was a spirit ship floating near the black chi, waiting quietly. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. The area ahead was still silent and pitch black. This was still a forbidden land of death. The battle between the Great Demon and the 9 sons had caused an uproar in the past 3 years. The experts of all worlds were discussing it. However, recently, it gradually calmed down because the 2 of them had completely disappeared. In the past 3 years, they had never appeared even once. Many people guessed that the 2 of them had perished together, swallowed up by the demonic chi. Peerless geniuses and experts were nothing when they died. Only those who were alive would be remembered forever. The world of cultivation was just that cruel. Moreover, although 3 years wasn't a long time, it was enough time for the top geniuses to shine. Over the past 3 years, many geniuses had risen to prominence and made their names known on the ancient road of the stars. There were also a few who fell, becoming a pile of yellow earth and dust. The world of cultivation was a cruel place. The sea had turned into mulberry fields. The 9 Sons Inheritor and the Great Demon had become legends. However, there were a few people who were like dazzling superstars that rose to power. One of them was like the sun at noon. His name was Yen Nantian, and he was the successor of the great emperor. Other than him, the others were also very strong. For example, Long Zhaotian, Zhao Wuliang, and the others were all ranked in the top 5 of the Abyss leaderboard. Of course, even though their rankings were at the bottom, Willow Wood and the others' cultivation had also increased by leaps and bounds. They even decided to go to the Abyss rankings once more to refresh their rankings. This action made countless people look forward to it. One had to know that some people's rankings were from decades ago, or even hundreds of years ago. No one knew how much these people's strength had grown in the past 100 years. However, there would definitely be a storm on the Abyss leaderboard. However, when they went to the Falling Abyss, they found that the Falling Abyss was temporarily closed. They couldn't enter to test it. This made many people sigh. Of course, this wasn't the first time such a thing had happened. Therefore, these people were relatively calm. However, many experts sighed. They couldn't see the changes in the Abyss leaderboard. Of course, some people began to evaluate the strength of these people based on their own speculations. Yen Nantian has been too strong recently. He's like the sun at noon. I think if he enters the Abyss leaderboard again, he'll probably get first place. Yes, although Di Ling is terrifying, in recent years, he has become very mysterious and elusive. There's no trace of him at all. Therefore, we don't know what his situation is now. There's also this Lin Wudi who is tied with Di Ling for first place. He seems to have mysteriously disappeared recently. This Lin Wudi actually has an advantage. When he took the test, many top geniuses at that time had been ranked for decades or centuries. Therefore, it didn't count at all. He stood in this gap and took first place. Otherwise, if they compete now, his ranking will probably fall. I think he won't even be able to enter the top 5. Indeed, I think Yen Nantian has the strength to be first. After him, the second should be Long Zhaotian. Zhao Wuliang is also very strong. I wonder how he compares to Long Zhaotian. Perhaps the two of them are tied. Perhaps Long Zhaotian is a little stronger. However, these 3 people will definitely be the new top 3. These people became more and more excited as they talked. Some people even wanted to take the first place of Di Ling and Lin Wudi. Regarding the Abyss leaderboard, many experts and geniuses from the stellar realm were discussing it. Some people had even started to challenge and compete. Most of them were the top geniuses on the leaderboard. It could be said that for a time, the ancient path of the stars was very lively. Of course, there was one exception, and that was the star field where the Langya star was located. There was still no one here. Because no one dared to come here, not even the saints. There was no one around. However, on this day, there was a change in the endless dark demonic chi in front of them. In the past 3 years, the monstrous demonic chi had not weakened at all. However, on this day, it rapidly weakened. It was even disappearing at the speed of collapse. What was going on? The dark red dragon in the nearby spirit ship was immediately alarmed. He looked at the scene in front of him, and was very surprised. What was going on? Why did the demonic chi disappear? According to his speculation, the demonic chi would exist for at least 100 years, or even a few hundred years. However, he was already prepared to wait here. Even if he had to wait 500 years, he would wait until the demonic chi dissipated. He was using the Eye of Time to save Lin Xian. However, he did not expect that in just 3 years, the demonic chi in front of him would disappear. Could it be that the demonic shadow had disappeared? The dark red dragon's eyes flickered. Thinking about it, it was possible. Although the great demon was terrifying and had burned its life to summon it, it was still a summon after all. It could not exist in this universe forever. Chapter 3281. The dark red dragon guessed, but he did not care about the specific reason. As long as the demonic chi disappeared, it was a good thing for him. The demonic chi disappeared very quickly. In the blink of an eye, more than half of it disappeared between heaven and earth, and the scene inside was also revealed. The shattered void was quickly healing, and the surroundings were pitch black. There were originally 3 worlds here, but 2 of them had disappeared. If one looked carefully, they would find that the worlds were full of cracks and were torn apart. The 2 worlds had been completely destroyed. The warriors and billions of living beings on the worlds were all killed. No one could escape. Even the saints were destroyed in body and soul. The dark red dragon steered the spirit boat and quickly shuttled through the void. When he saw this scene, his scalp went numb. Damn it, it's too terrifying. What kind of strength does he have to be able to create such a terrifying scene? With one strike, 2 worlds were destroyed. The dark red dragon's face was extremely gloomy, because he felt that Lin Xian was probably in danger. The demonic qi retreated very quickly, and the dark red dragon shuttled through the void at an extremely fast speed. Finally, he saw a speck of light in front of him. It was the Langia star. At this moment, the array formation on the Langia star had become dark, and many places were full of cracks. Some places were cracked. However, most of the places were fine. It seemed that the Langia star was not destroyed and had survived. As expected of a mysterious world on the ancient path of the stars, it could actually survive. The dark red dragon was surprised. He glanced at it and no longer paid attention. He quickly searched for Lin Xian's figure. The surroundings were dark and cold, and resentment was monstrous because countless powerhouses and half-step saints had died here. Damn that kid, he's not dead, right? The dark red dragon was a little anxious. He still could not find any trace of Lin Xian. No, the great dragon sword soul should not have been destroyed. He quickly sensed his aura. The dark red dragon searched his soul in all directions. Whoosh! When the darkness faded a little, the dark red dragon suddenly screamed. I sensed it. He flew out of the spirit boat and quickly flew forward. Soon he arrived at a place. In front of him, the shadow of a dragon flickered and coiled up. The light it emitted was much dimmer, like a lonely lamp in the night. I found it, the great dragon sword soul. The dark red dragon became excited. Not only did he see the great dragon sword spirit, but he also saw Lin Xian. At this moment, Lin Xian was surrounded by the great dragon sword spirit. His body was damaged beyond recognition. His entire body had turned into a skeleton, and all his blood had flowed out. However, the dark red divine dragon was extremely excited. He had originally thought that there were only a few drops of blood left, but now it seemed that the situation was much better than he had imagined. Kid, are you alright? The dark red dragon rushed over and asked a few questions, but there was no response. He struck out with a great divine ability, wrapping around Lin Xian and bringing him away. At this time, the golden bone suddenly trembled slightly, and 2 small golden flames lit up in its eye sockets. Following that, Lin Xian sent a spiritual message. He wasn't dead yet, so he had to leave quickly. After saying those words, the flame in the golden eye sockets disappeared. The dark red divine dragon was overjoyed. Great! He wrapped Lin Xian up and sent him into the spirit boat. In the next moment, he activated the spirit boat, streaked across the void, and instantly disappeared. Not long after he left, all of the darkness in the entire starfield vanished. After a while, the Langia star suddenly emitted an incomparable light, and the array formation on the mountains and rivers quickly disappeared. The martial artists on the ground quickly woke up and flew up. They waited for a while and found that the darkness had indeed retreated. They heaved a sigh of relief. Some powerful half-step saints and geniuses flew away and came to the outer realm. When they saw the cold universe around them and nothing was left, they were all shocked. Could it be that the darkness had really retreated? What about the successor of the 9 suns? If they didn't know, they would have died long ago. Damn it! The great demon actually attacked our Langia star as well. Many people's faces turned cold. Indeed, a portion of the Langia star's array formation had been shattered, and demonic qi had entered. The monstrous aura there had formed a forbidden land of death. But overall, they were already doing very well. Soon, they sent people to search the entire star field, and they found 2 destroyed star worlds. When the news came back, the warriors of the Langia star were all stunned. Were the 2 worlds destroyed just like that? None of them escaped. How was that possible? Some of the younger martial artists were trembling. They also knew about those two star worlds, because they were not far from them. Although the martial path was not as developed as theirs, there were still saints there. But now, everything was reduced to ashes. Langya Star, Langya Pavilion. A few old men sat there with cold expressions. They were holding ancient tortoise shells in their hands. It seemed that they were divining something. Crack. Suddenly, a tortoise shell in front of them quickly formed a military formation. It split into two halves from the middle, as if it was split by a saber. Seeing this scene, an old man in a star robe sighed. The great demon should be dead. Let's see what happened to the successor of the 9 sons. Next, they divined again. This time, the tortoise shell shattered into pieces with a bang. That energy gave them a fright. Their expressions were incomparably cold. At that moment, an old voice sounded from the void. Stop divining the successor of the 9 sons. In addition, inform everyone that no matter who asks about the successor of the 9 sons in the future, they are not allowed to spread the news to avoid causing trouble. Yes. In the main hall, the old men quickly responded. At the same time, they were extremely shocked. One had to know that they were using extremely advanced and terrifying divination techniques. Previously, when they were divining the life and death of the great demon, the tortoise shell had split into two halves from the middle. That meant that the person was already dead. When they recommended the successor of the 9 sons, the tortoise shell had also cracked, but it did not split from the middle. Instead, it split into pieces and exploded. That was a warning. That meant that the successor of the 9 sons had some kind of energy that prevented them from divining. It even posed a threat to them. Could it be that the successor of the 9 sons was not dead? These elders were extremely shocked. They sucked in a breath of cold air. No way. That terrifying demonic energy had destroyed the 2 nearby worlds, but the successor of the 9 sons was not dead. They really did not dare to believe it. How did the other party block it? Or could it be that the other party had some way to revive the dead? However, with such terrifying destruction, even a saint had been killed. Could it be that the other party had an immortal medicine? They did not know that. However, they felt that the successor of the 9 sons was not dead. Chapter 3282. However, they were the only ones who knew about this. They would never spread the news. The demonic aura receded, and the reappearance of the Langya star alarmed the others once again. Many people from all the realms in the universe flew over to investigate the ancient starry sky path. Where was the great demon? Where was the successor of the 9 sons? They were extremely shocked. Did they really perish together? When they saw the 2-star realms shatter into pieces, they were stunned. Heavens! I remember that these 2 worlds used to be full of vitality. Moreover, there were billions of living beings, and there were sages among them. Why is there no vitality at all now? Furthermore, they were torn apart. Could it be caused by the demonic aura? Thinking of this, they gasped. It's over. The successor of the 9 sons is definitely dead. Both worlds were destroyed. He definitely wouldn't be able to survive. These people shook their heads and sighed. They felt that there was no need to ask anymore. In fact, some of the young geniuses heaved a sigh of relief. They had all seen the battle between the great demon and the successor of the 9 sons and were shocked. If the 2 of them were alive, the threat they posed would be too great. Perhaps only a few people, such as the princes and princesses and the successors of thearchs, would be able to fight against such existences. Other than that, the others were simply not enough. But now these 2 extremely powerful experts had actually perished together. Well, that meant that they had lost 2 super powerful enemies. Planet Suzaku. In the spirit vein of the mountains, a handsome man stood with his hands behind his back. There was a formation in front of him, and news was coming from it. They were really dead. They had perished together. What an unexpected harvest. This man was Yin Nantian. When he learned that Lin Xian and the great demon had perished together, he smiled. This way, there would be very few people who could threaten him. What successor of the 9 sons? What great demon? They were all killed by my little trick. Humph, the only one who can become a Varch is me. Yin Nantian's eyes shone with a cold light. In the cold void of the universe, A slender man with a serious look in his eyes was followed by a beautiful woman. At this moment, she was also frowning. Was that kid really dead? Sigh. The slender man sighed and shook his head. The news had already spread, and it seemed like it was true. After all, the demon was his nemesis. Moreover, according to the people of the Langya Star, the great devil burned his life to summon the first devil king. That was an extremely terrifying existence. That person's attack had destroyed 2 worlds. It was likely that Lin Xian would not be able to survive. The news spread everywhere. Those who were ranked at the top of the Abyss leaderboard all received the news. They all had different thoughts. Some were regretful, some were gloating, and some were happy. However, they didn't know that there was an extremely ordinary world of stars on the ancient path of stars. Inside, the dark red mystical dragon descended. He found an extremely secluded place and set up an array formation. Then he brought Lin Xian into the black earth. The dark red divine dragon did not hesitate to use an eye of time. The octatic treasure snake was already confused by the illusion, so it obediently used the eye of time. A scarlet eye appeared on its back, flickering with incomparably mysterious runes. Then it slowly healed. Buzz. Something miraculous happened. An incomparably mysterious aura appeared on Lin Xian's body. That was the power of time. Time reversed, causing Lin Xian's heavily injured and dying body to rapidly recover. In almost the blink of an eye, Lin Xian had already recovered. If others saw this scene, they would definitely be stunned. Even saints would be scared to death. One had to know that the injuries he suffered could not be healed without a few hundred years. But now, Lin Xian had recovered in the blink of an eye. To be able to cause such a scene, it was probably only the legendary elixir of immortality. What a magical thing. The dark red divine dragon swallowed his saliva wildly. Now there were only 6 Eye of Time left. No wonder there was still a certain number of octatic treasure snakes in the past. But it was because of the Eye of Time that the octatic treasure snakes were extinct. Lin Xian being able to subdue an octatic treasure snake was really a pleasant surprise. Otherwise, although he wouldn't be dead now, but if he wanted to recover to his peak, it would take 100 to 200 years. And this time was too long. Especially on the road to becoming a great emperor. He would be left far behind. Kid, how do you feel? The dark red divine dragon raised his head and looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief and looked at his own body. What a miraculous power. I actually recovered completely. Not only that, but my memories haven't reversed. I still remember the previous battle. Was this the Eye of Time? It was really too mysterious. The power of time was too strange. Even Lin Xian couldn't capture it at all. He couldn't even understand it. The first thing he did after recovering was to use the eye technique on the octatic treasure snake again. After tasting the magic and terror of the Eye of Time, Lin Xian felt more and more that he had to subdue this octatic treasure snake. He wouldn't kill it. He wanted it to live well, and even reproduce. After using the illusion technique on the octatic treasure snake again, and making sure there were no accidents, Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Then he asked about what happened after he was wrapped up by the world devourer demon. The dark red divine dragon gave a simple explanation. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. Other than the shocking news of his battle with the great demon, there wasn't anything else. Kid, what do you plan to do next? The dark red divine dragon asked. I'll go into seclusion to comprehend and cultivate. Because I came back from the dead this time, I have a new understanding of heaven and earth. I even have a new understanding of life. After that, it's time to look for Yan Nantian to settle things. Mentioning Yan Nantian, Lin Xian's eyes erupted with a biting cold light. It was Yan Nantian who leaked his information to the great demon, causing the great demon to chase after him. This method of borrowing a knife to kill someone was really sinister. Although Lin Xian had killed the great demon, he still wouldn't let Yan Nantian off. Alright, then you go and cultivate. The dark red divine dragon said. Then he called Little White and the 2 left. Lin Xian sat down cross-legged again. This time, it was as if he had died once and come back to life. He had a new understanding of heaven and earth, nature and life. Therefore, he had to quickly comprehend it. Previously, The world devourer demon used by the first great demon was too shocking. That power that could destroy everything was shocking. This was the same for Lin Xian. Moreover, he had a deeper feeling than others. Because this attack was aimed at him. Wang. His fire laws of nature fragment was also rapidly improving. A trace of destructive power was channeled out from the middle. Lin Xian comprehended the fire laws of nature, and based on his experience of the world devourer demon, he created an ultimate move, Annihilation Fiery Lotus. This was called a law mystique. Compared to the fragments of ordinary usage methods, the power of these fragments was much stronger. Generally, only a true sage could create a law mystique. But now Lin Xian had succeeded in creating it in advance. Chapter 3283. This was not the end. Lin Xian created a new law mystique based on the power of annihilation and the terrifying scene from before. Snap of the fingers. Lin Xian tried this law mystique. He condensed the annihilation law fragment to his fingertip and flicked it lightly. Instantly, the area in front of him turned into ashes. What terrifying power! Lin Xian was also amazed. He continued to comprehend. He had experienced death. Although he had the protection of the great dragon sword soul, this devourer of the world was too terrifying. Even saints could be easily killed, so he was also seriously injured. His flesh and blood were all dried up, and the golden bones in his body were also broken. Not a single part of him was intact. Those 3 years were really torturous. However, he had managed to endure it all. Of course, in addition to the protection of the great dragon sword soul, Lin Xian had been using the law of wood to maintain his vitality. He created his own mystique, recuperation. This mystique was created using the law of wood. It was not an offensive mystique, but a mystique for daily recuperation. Of course, he also had another experience, and that was being seriously injured and on the verge of death, instantly recovering. This experience was too shocking. Probably not many people had experienced it. Perhaps only the great emperor back then could have such an experience after eating the elixir of immortality. Lin Xian used the law of fire, the law of wood, and combined this experience to create his own mystique, Nirvana Rebirth. This mystique was different from recuperation. Recuperation was suitable for a long time, the kind of cultivation that moistened the rain silently, while Nirvana Rebirth was very suitable for battle. Serious injuries in battle could be recovered immediately. Lin Xian had experienced life and death, comprehended heaven and earth, and created 4 great mystiques. These 4 great mystiques were very terrifying, enough to fight against saints. With Lin Xian's current strength, if he wanted to fight against the great demon, he probably would not give the great demon a chance to use the blood sacrifice. He could use these 4 great mystiques to kill the other party. Now his strength had improved comprehensively compared to before. It could be said that he had profited from a disaster. The benefits he had obtained from the battle were simply too great. So great that Lin Xian could not imagine it. What powerful strength! He could clearly feel the increase in his strength, and he was overjoyed. After cultivating for a while, Lin Fan stabilized his condition. Lin Xian once again sat cross-legged and closed his eyes to cultivate. However, 3 days later, he opened his eyes and muttered to himself, "Not good." Outside, the dark red divine dragon also rushed in and said anxiously, "Kid, what are you feeling?" Snow White little Marquis was also blinking her big eyes. Aya, it seemed like she was going to be struck by lightning. That was indeed the case. Outside, countless thunderclouds were gathering. It seemed like a lightning tribulation was about to happen. Furthermore, from the looks of it, the lightning tribulation was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian, on the other hand, had a serious look on his face. "I wonder if I'm about to break through?" "What?" The dark red dragon widened its eyes in disbelief. "What breakthrough? Could it be that you want to break through to the Saint Realm?" Thinking of this, he sucked in a breath of cold air. Lin Xian had just broken through to the half-Saint Realm. Was he going to break through to the Saint Realm now? What kind of cultivation speed was this? If this news were to spread, it would definitely shock everyone to death. Such a young saint. There were probably only a few of them in the entire universe. However, when he thought of Lin Xian's experience, he understood. Lin Xian had fought with the great demon for half a year. That battle was truly earth-shattering. After that, he suffered from the great demon swallowing the world. That 3 years of suffering was something that others would not experience in 3,000 years. Lin Xian instantly recovered from the realm of death and reached his peak. The feeling of being reborn was probably something that other saints could not experience. This kind of experience was simply too precious. No wonder Lin Xian could break through to the saint realm so quickly. Alright, then break through with all your strength. Well, retreat and wait in the surroundings. This world is relatively ordinary. There are no powerful people here, and it won't attract the attention of other powerful enemies. It's best for you to break through here. As he spoke, he was about to leave with Little White. No. Lin Xian shook his head. No, ruffian dragon, hurry up and help me suppress it. I can't break through. I feel that this should be a fragment of the law of fire. I want to break through and become a true law of fire. That way, I'll become a fire-type saint. But my goal is to become a 5-elements saint. I want to collect 5 elements Dao stones and fuse the power of the 5 elements. That way, once I break through, my strength will undergo a tremendous change. Even among saints, it's extremely terrifying. Now breaking through to the saint realm of fire conflicts with my goal. Moreover, if I want to fuse the laws of the 5 elements in the future, it will probably be much more difficult than now. Therefore, I can't break through now. That's true. Hearing this, the dark red dragon fell silent. That was indeed the case. After breaking through to the saint realm, there would be an astonishing difference in strength. Therefore, it was understandable that Lin Xian did not want to break through now. Sai, I have no choice but to help you. Kid, you have to think carefully. Suppressing your cultivation is very dangerous, especially for you. Now that you're about to break through to the saint realm, the lightning tribulation will probably be much more terrifying than before. There's even the danger of dying. Don't worry, I've already survived the great demon swallowing the world. I'll definitely be able to withstand the lightning tribulation. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a piercing cold light. Good. The dark red dragon said. I have a way. Previously, I even thought about what would happen if I broke through to the saint realm of fire. What is it? Hurry up and tell me. Lin Xian quickly asked. In the sky, there were more and more thunderbolts. Even the martial artists in this world were terrified. What was going on? Why was there so much terrifying thunder? Fortunately, this world was too ordinary. In the face of such a terrifying lightning tribulation, no one dared to inquire, and could only hide far away. Therefore, there was no one near Lin Xian. Inside the array, the dark red dragon quickly said. With the great dragon sword soul as the core, well, set up an array and forcefully suppress your cultivation temporarily. This way, you can hold on for 2 years. However, it's only 2 years. Next time, it probably won't be so easy to suppress. After 2 years, if you don't break through to the saint realm, the lightning tribulation will definitely be at the level of destruction. Kid, you have to think carefully. 2 years. It's too short. Lin Xian sighed. In these 2 years, it was very likely that he wouldn't be able to find a 5-star Dao stone. However, he had to take a gamble. Otherwise, he would definitely not be satisfied if he did nothing. Alright, 2 years. 2 years it is. Hurry up and do it. Lin Xian said. The dark red dragon quickly waved its dragon claws. You control the great dragon sword soul. I'll use it as an array to form a cultivation suppression array in your body. You have to withstand it. Chapter 3284. This process lasted for 10 days and 10 nights. In the sky, the thunderclouds gradually gathered. However, on the 10th day they disappeared in a strange manner. It was a success. The snow-white monkey looked at the disappearing clouds in the sky and squeaked. The dark red divine dragon and Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. You're too abnormal. You broke through to the saint stage in such a short time. You're really envious of me. The dark red divine dragon bared its teeth and said. He hurriedly swallowed a heaven and earth treasure and said. There are only 2 years left. We don't have much time. Let's hurry up and leave. Lin Xian nodded. He had 2 Dao stones in his hands now, and he still had to find the other 3. And the most important thing was the magnetic stones. It could be said that there was still a long way to go. He didn't waste any time and quickly packed up. His goal was still the Langya star. Only the Langya star could tell him where the remaining Dao stones were. The last time he asked, he had already consumed most of his divine crystals, and didn't have much left. He did have some gains on the elven planet, but most of them were spirit herbs that he needed. Therefore Lin Xian didn't want to give it to them. As for the Eye of Time, it was even more impossible for him to reveal it. Therefore, Lin Xian was prepared to agree to the Langya star's conditions, and help them in exchange for information. The Langya star was fully open at this moment, so the nearby star field was bustling again. When those powerhouses and geniuses arrived at this star field, they all sighed. This was because 3 years ago, this place was still a land of death. No one dared to come here, not even saints. But now, this place had regained its peace. However, the great demon and the successor of the 9 sons who had stirred up a storm that day had already disappeared. Near the star field, a spirit ship flew over. Inside, Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon looked around and heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it seemed that the Langya star was fine. This way they could enter and ask. As it wasn't his first time coming to the Langya star, Lin Xian had a certain understanding of the rules here. So this time his speed was even faster than before. He arrived at the 12th district, the 8th hall again. This time, the one who received him was the same woman from last time. The woman looked at Lin Xian and was extremely surprised. The other party had come to ask about the whereabouts of the Dao stone so quickly? Could it be that he had obtained that Dao stone? Of course, she was just curious and wouldn't ask. The rules of the Langya star forbade anyone from inquiring about their guests. Lin Xian asked again. I don't have enough divine crystals, but the last time I came, I heard that I could help you complete a task to obtain information. Would it work this time? Oh, you want to work for us in exchange for information? This time, the woman was extremely surprised. She looked at Lin Xian seriously and then nodded. Okay. Just as she was about to mention the mission, her eyebrows suddenly twitched. She heard a voice transmission. The voice transmission took her by surprise. Asking him to go to the void ocean meant that this kid's identity was not simple. The woman was stunned and then said, Sir, please wait for a moment. I'll go organize the missions. With that, she turned into the void and disappeared. When she appeared again, she was in a sealed space. There were 2 old men sitting there, drinking tea and discussing the Tao. The woman respectfully came to the front of the 2 elders and greeted them. What was so special about that kid? Why did they want him to go to the void ocean? The void ocean was not a simple place. Ordinary half-sages would not be able to return after entering. Wasn't it too risky to let this kid go? One of the red-robed elders raised his head. You might not have noticed it yet, but don't forget where this kid went last time. The last time he asked about the wood Dao stone, I gave him 3 pieces of information. The beautiful woman frowned and pondered. At this moment, the red-robed elder said again, Among your 3 pieces of information, is one of them about the elven planet? Think about what happened on the elven planet in the past few years. I think you should understand. Elven planet. The woman was stunned for a moment before she seemed to have thought of something, and her expression changed. The elven planet was where the battle between the 9 sons' successor and the great demon began. Could it be that this kid was related to those 2? Take another guess. The red-robed elder asked with a smile that was not a smile. Could it be that this guy was the successor of the 9 sons? The woman thought of a possibility that shocked even herself. She quickly shook her head. Impossible. The great demon and the successor of the 9 sons perished together. It was impossible for the other party to be alive. This kid definitely couldn't be the successor of the 9 sons. At this moment, the white-robed elder also turned his head. We're not sure if he's the successor of the 9 sons, because the heavenly secrets of the 9 sons' successor are covered, and we can't deduce it. If we forcefully deduce it, I'm afraid it will attract heavenly tribulation. However, the saint ancestor sent news that the moment the other party entered the Langya planet, The demonic aura in a certain place that still had terrifying demonic aura trembled violently and seemed to be roaring out. When others came here, there was no change at all. Even the saints had no problem descending. But when he came in, the demonic aura became crazy. This demonic aura was produced by the great demon. To be able to make the demonic aura of the great demon so violent, other than the successor of the 9 sons, I can't think of anyone else. Hearing this, the beautiful woman's expression changed and her mind went blank. She really couldn't imagine that the young man she received had such a background. Of course, she knew that all of this was just speculation because they didn't have any evidence to prove that the other party was the successor of the 9 sons. But these speculations were enough to shock her. Taking a deep breath, the beautiful woman asked, "May I know what the 2 elders mean?" The saint ancestor sent news that although the demonic aura scattered on the Langya planet isn't much, it's still a hidden danger. If we don't get rid of it quickly, there might be unforeseen events in the future. And the demonic aura is related to the first great demon. It won't be easy to get rid of it. Moreover, once the demonic aura goes crazy, who knows what kind of unforeseen events will happen. After all, the great demons are all lunatics. If the demonic aura self-destructs, the Langya planet will be severely damaged. Therefore, according to the saint ancestor, we should find a peaceful way to suppress the demonic aura. There's a Saint Dharma idol in the Void Sea. Take it out and suppress the demonic aura. This will ensure the safety of the Langya planet. After hearing this, the beautiful woman frowned. A Saint Dharma idol? Our Langya planet has more than one saint. Why do we need someone else's Saint Dharma idol? This isn't an ordinary saint. It's the great sage's Dharma idol. Moreover, in addition to being the great sage, that saint was also a king. He cultivated the righteous energy of heaven and earth, which had an extremely strong suppressive effect on demonic aura. His Dharma idol was the most suitable. Chapter 3285. Hearing this, the beautiful woman's body trembled and fear appeared in her eyes. She didn't expect there to be so many things behind this. However, the Void Sea was too dangerous. Could this kid really do it? She was still very doubtful. The red-robed elder said again, "According to our calculations, the Void Sea will open soon, but that place is controlled by a few great powers. If you want to enter that place, you can't force your way in. Let him go to planet Suzaku, get a good ranking, and then get the right to enter the Void Sea. Why don't we just let him represent us and go to the Void Sea? Why go through so much trouble?" The beautiful woman was puzzled again. What we want is the great sage Dharma idol. That thing is also a treasure to others. If we don't give that kid some benefits, do you think that kid will give us the great sage Dharma idol for nothing? Tell him that if he gets first place in the battle on planet Suzaku, he will get the Earth Dao Stone. At that time, he will go to the Void Sea and get the Water Dao Stone. I think this kid wants the 5-element Dao Stone. Maybe he wants to comprehend the 5-element law, so he definitely won't refuse this news. After he gets the great sage Dharma idol, we will give him some free information and give him the title of honorary elder of planet Langya. I don't think he will refuse. Indeed, although the great sage Dharma idol is precious, it is only to some people. For example, to us, it is incomparably precious. But to that kid, although it is precious, it is still a bit inferior to the Dao Stone. So hurry up and tell him this news. Yes. The beautiful woman quickly nodded and returned to the 8th palace. May I know what mission Senior has for me? Lin Xian quickly asked. He really didn't have much time left, only 2 years. This is a chain mission. Can you do it? If you can, you might get more than 1 Dao Stone. Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. You know that I want other Dao Stones. Based on your body temperature, I can guess a thing or two. But don't worry, our planet Langya has its own rules. We won't reveal your secrets. Yes. Lin Xian nodded. He knew that the Langya star must have strict rules for it to be able to stand for so many years, and was highly respected. He wasn't too worried about this. So he said, "Okay, what's the mission?" The beautiful woman said that in 3 months, there will be a competition on planet Suzaku. Battle on planet Suzaku? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. What did this have to do with him? The beautiful woman said. Planet Suzaku organized this competition to give the most recent geniuses a ranking. Because recently, it was time to challenge the Abyss ranking again, but for some reason the falling Abyss was closed. For the time being, those geniuses were unable to be ranked again. And at this time, there were still many geniuses who were fighting amongst themselves. This caused a lot of commotion. Therefore, Planet Suzaku wanted to organize a competition to gather all of the geniuses from the ancient path of stars and battle it out to determine the winner. Then a vermilion bird leaderboard appeared. Vermilion bird roll. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. What good would this do for Planet Suzaku? Naturally, it was to create momentum. Their planet Suzaku had recently obtained a genius, and they had spared no effort in promoting this genius. Oh, a genius? What kind of genius could make a planet go through so much trouble? The beautiful woman said, the successor of a great emperor, Yen Nantian. After hearing this name, Lin Xian's pupils shrank and killing intent appeared in his eyes. But soon, the killing intent disappeared. What does Yen Nantian have to do with Planet Suzaku? You don't know. This time, the beautiful woman was extremely shocked. This was a big thing that had happened in the past few years. Although it wasn't as big as the battle between the successor of the Nine Sons and the Great Demon, it was still something that everyone knew about. The successor of a great emperor, Yen Nantian, had joined the Suzaku Palace. Yen Nantian was very powerful, his talent was even better, and he had the inheritance of a great emperor. He was constantly improving. He was a popular candidate to become a great emperor on the path to becoming a great emperor. Many people had placed their bets on him. Think about it. If Suzaku Palace nurtured Yen Nantian to become a great emperor, then Suzaku Palace would reach the peak and suppress all the worlds. How could Suzaku Palace give up such an opportunity? There was such a thing. Lin Xian was really shocked. In these past few years, he had been suppressed by the demonic energy, so he naturally didn't know what was going on outside. He didn't expect Yen Nantian to collude with Suzaku Palace. It looked like Suzaku Palace was an incredible monster. Of course, Suzaku Palace occupied the entire planet and was one of the top powers on the ancient path. Also, in order to attract powerful geniuses, Suzaku Palace had put in a lot of effort. If they could get a good result in the battle rankings, they would be able to obtain a lot of treasures. Also, they would have the right to enter the Void Sea. Void Sea. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. What kind of place was that? Seeing Lin Xian's curiosity, the beautiful woman said, the Void Sea is still in the universe. It is a very strange place. To be honest, the main mission we are giving you is in the Void Sea. However, entering the Void Sea is very dangerous and requires a lot of strength. Therefore, we will test your strength first. You will go to Planet Suzaku to fight. If you can get into the top 5, then we will recognize your qualifications. Of course, don't worry. We are letting you go to Planet Suzaku for your own good. If you can get to the top of Planet Suzaku, then you will be able to obtain an Earth Dao Stone. Of course, even if you can't get first place, we will still give you information about the Earth Dao Stone. At the same time, entering the Void Sea is also beneficial to you, because there is the whereabouts of the Water Dao Stone. When you retrieve what we want from the Void Sea, we will give you a Metal Dao Stone. This way you will be able to obtain 3 Dao Stones. Hearing the beautiful woman's words, Lin Xian was extremely shocked. 3 Dao Stones. And from the looks of it, if everything went well, he would be able to gather 5. This made him very tempted. One had to know that he only had 2 years. Originally, he thought that it would be very difficult to complete it in 2 years. This was because it took him more than half a year just to go to the Elven planet. After that, he still had to search for a battle. It was possible to gather all of them together. But it was impossible to gather all 3. But now, the beautiful woman told him that he might be able to gather all 3 at once. This made him extremely tempted. Once he obtained these 3 Dao Stones, his 5-element Dao Stones would be complete. Next, he only needed 1 Origin Magnetic Stone. I wonder what you want me to get from the Void Sea. Lin Xian took a deep breath and asked in a low voice. Chapter 3286. The beautiful woman smiled mysteriously. Let's talk about that after you get into the top 5 of the Vermilion Bird ranking. Sure, but I have another request. If I bring back something from you, not only must you give me a metal Dao stone, but you must also give me a piece of information for free. Don't worry, not only will we give you a metal Dao stone and a piece of information for free, but we will also invite you to become an honorary elder of the Langya Star. What do you think? Honorary elder? Lin Xian asked. What's the use of that? With the protection of the Langya Star, no one will dare to provoke you. Also, after becoming an honorary elder, you can enjoy half the benefits when you ask for information. What? Half the benefits? After Lin Xian heard this, he exclaimed. He didn't care about being protected by the Langya Star, but this half the benefits were too tempting. Who knew if he would still need information in the future? The price of every piece of information was very high. If he only had to pay half, that would be great news for him. Deal. Lin Xian quickly nodded. Then young master should prepare to go to planet Suzaku to participate in the battle. I hope young master can get into the top 5 of the Vermilion Bird ranking. The beautiful woman smiled and then disappeared into the void. Lin Xian turned around and left the 8th palace. The information this time made him happy. However, he didn't expect Yin Nantian to work with the Vermilion Bird Palace. From their previous discussion, he found out that the Vermilion Bird ranking was created specifically for Yin Nantian. From the perspective of planet Suzaku, Yin Nantian was the successor of the emperor, and was very powerful. His strength should have increased by leaps and bounds recently, so it shouldn't be a problem for him to get first place. However, this was without Lin Xian. Now that Lin Xian was here, Yin Nantian still wanted to get first place? What kind of joke was this? It was said that the first place would get the Earth Dao Stone. Lin Xian wouldn't give it to anyone else. Also, he had a grudge with Yin Nantian. Yin Nantian wanted to kill someone with a borrowed knife. He would definitely return this grudge. Thinking of this, he snorted coldly and rose into the air, intending to leave. Suddenly, he frowned as he felt someone using their soul to quickly scan his body. He immediately stopped and turned around to look. Not far from him, there was a young man in a green robe. His eyes were also flickering with green light, forming mysterious runes. Clearly, he was using an eye technique. The other party dared to spy on him. Humph! Immediately, he coldly snorted, and a golden light appeared in his eyes. In the next instant, he activated his ocular technique. With a boom, invisible energy collided in the air. The azure-robed man grunted and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned incomparably pale. What's going on? What happened to you? His companions seemed to be nearby, and they immediately flew over to support him. Nothing, let's go. The green-robed man waved his hand, and quickly left with the help of his companions. Before he left, he looked at Lin Xian with shock and greed in his eyes. Lin Xian saw the other party's last gaze and he was baffled. What was going on? He didn't know this person. He shook his head and didn't pay any more attention. Time was of the essence. He had to quickly leave and head to planet Suzaku. He didn't care about anything else. His body flickered. Then he flew into the sky and completely disappeared. The injured green-robed man revealed a cold gaze and said to his companions, "Where's my big brother? I want to see him. I have to see him quickly." "Are you talking about Big Brother Zhao? He's in the 3rd region. Let's go." The green-robed man flew into the air and quickly flew. His 2 companions followed closely behind him. Soon they arrived at the 3rd region. The green-robed man sent a voice transmission. "Big brother, are you there? I need to see you. I have an urgent matter." Buzz. The space before them fluctuated and a ray of white light rushed out from the 3rd region. It turned into a shadow. It was a stalwart man with a powerful aura, but from the looks of it, it was only an illusion. The other party's main body was still inside. Seeing this illusion, the green-robed man was very happy. "What happened? Are you injured?" When the illusionary man saw this, he frowned. "Big brother, I saw a person earlier. I felt an extremely terrifying power from him. That power was very obscure. If I didn't cultivate my family's eye technique, I wouldn't have been able to sense it." Hearing this, The illusionary man quickly sent a voice transmission to ask what happened next. What did you sense? I don't know. I can't explain it, but it's not any power I've seen before. It's very likely that it's one of the strongest powers. That kid definitely has it on him. And it shouldn't be his own power. Perhaps it's some kind of treasure. Hearing this, the illusionary man frowned. One of the strongest powers? Time reigns supreme and space reigns supreme. Could it be the power of space? As for the power of time, he didn't dare to imagine it at all. In his opinion, no one could control that kind of power. The power of space was already very terrifying. It was very likely that it was a space treasure. The other party actually had a space treasure. Who is it? Do you know his identity? The illusionary man said. I don't know, but I've already memorized his appearance. Also, I left the 10,000 miles incense on him. With our eye technique, we can definitely catch up to him. Big brother, hurry up and act. You mustn't miss this opportunity. Obtaining the space treasure will be of great help to you when you participate in the battle on planet Suzaku. Hearing this, the illusionary man became silent. I still have things to do in the third region, so I can't leave. This matter is very important to me. Right, what's that person's cultivation level? I don't know. I've never seen him before. He doesn't have any terrifying aura, but his soul should be stronger than mine. He injured me in an instant, and even my soul is injured. Oh, soul attack type? How about this? Oh, create an avatar, and enter your body. Then, oh, find a few people to capture that kid. Big brother, is this okay? That kid isn't simple. The green-robed man frowned. The illusionary man sneered. So what if he isn't simple? My avatar isn't something an ordinary half-saint can resist. Besides, the people I've found this time are all the top ones on the Abyss leaderboard. Don't worry, it'll be very easy for them to capture that kid. However, I'm afraid you'll have to suffer a bit if my avatar enters your body. Don't worry, big brother. The green-robed man shook his head. The next moment, more white lights rushed out from the third region. They became stronger and stronger. Then the illusionary man's figure became more and more terrifying. His aura was much stronger than an ordinary half-saint's. Even the top geniuses couldn't compare to him. This man's avatar was so terrifying. Chapter 3287. Boom. The illusory man entered the green-robed man's body. The green-robed man let out a miserable scream. His eyes were filled with madness and pain. However, he soon stopped screaming. His eyes were incomparably deep and a cold smile appeared on his face. Someone with a spatial treasure? You can't escape from the palm of my hand. This illusory man was actually Zhao Wuliang's avatar. Zhao Wuliang was ranked 5th on the Abyss leaderboard. His strength was very terrifying. He was a veteran prodigy and a peerless expert. Moreover, it was said that he was ranked 5th 90 years ago. No one knew what level Zhao Wuliang had reached now. However, it was definitely terrifying. My current body should be able to use about 70% of my strength. However, just in case, I have to find a few helpers. After entering his younger brother's body, Zhao Wuliang frowned. He found that his younger brother's soul injury was very strange. It seemed that the other party's soul was also very powerful. He had to be careful. Also, when he read that person's appearance in his mind, he found that although the other party looked very ordinary, his calm eyes contained a sense of vastness. It seemed that he was not a simple person. As for the other party, he had never seen him before and didn't know who he was. No matter who you are, no one is my match. I remember that those purple-ranked fellows should be here as well. If I let them attack together, it will be absolutely safe. Lin Xian flew into the sky, left planet Langya, and flew toward the outer space. He was still thinking that planet Langya didn't help him and directly teleported him to planet Suzaku, saving him the trouble of flying back and forth. However, he also knew that planet Langya was still testing him to see if he was qualified to enter the Void Sea. He was afraid that planet Langya wouldn't provide him with any help before he obtained a ranking on the Suzaku leaderboard. However, he didn't care because 3 months should be enough to fly from here to planet Suzaku. However, after flying for half a day, he stopped, frowned, and coldly said, After following me for so long, it's time to come out. He was surrounded by the dark universe, and there was no one around. There were only occasional flashes of light. There was no one around. Was Lin Xian talking to a ghost? Kid, your soul is quite powerful to be able to sense my presence. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. Lin Xian turned his head and saw a figure walking out from behind. He was very young and had a heroic bearing. His eyes shone with a piercingly cold light. Who are you? He asked in a deep voice. I am Gao Chong, ranked 13th on the Abyss rankings. An arrogant voice sounded. If anyone else was here and heard this, they would definitely be scared silly. This person was actually Gao Chong, ranked 13th on the Abyss leaderboard. It was truly shocking. The people ranked on the Abyss ranking were all top experts. Being ranked 13th was enough to show how powerful the other party was. Ranking 13th Gao Chong? Lin Xian was also stunned. The other party was looking for him? Lin Xian asked. Why are you looking for me? I heard that you have a magic treasure in your possession. I wonder if you can give it to me. Gao Chong's voice was still cold, with a hint of arrogance, as if he didn't put Lin Xian in his eyes. The magical equipment on my body? Lin Xian frowned. What was going on? He did have the Eye of Time. Were these people here for the Eye of Time? It shouldn't be. No one should know about this thing. Could it be that the news had been leaked? But how could it be? Lin Xian's mind raced in an instant. Suddenly he remembered that when he left the Wolf Fang planet, a man in a green robe had once used his soul to spy on him. Could it be that that man had discovered his secret? No, no one could discover the secret on his body, not even a sage. Moreover, although that man in a green robe was powerful, his soul was still much weaker than his. How could he discover his secret? Then what was going on? Magic treasure? What magic treasure? He asked with a frown. Don't hide it. We have already found out that you have a spatial magic treasure on you. Hand it over, and we can let you live. At this moment, the void behind Lin Xian split open, and another voice sounded. Lin Xian glanced behind him. That person was surrounded by terrifying lightning, like a god of thunder. His powerful strength was enough to suppress an area. I am Yan Kuan, ranked 10th on the Abyss leaderboard. Even more arrogant, this voice sounded. Lin Xian didn't care about the other party's name. He was now thinking about what the other party said before. He had a spatial magic treasure on him? How was that possible? How could he have a spatial magic treasure on him? Did I mistake these people for someone else? What spatial magic treasure? I didn't. You must have recognized the wrong person, right? Lin Xian said. Hee kid, don't quibble anymore. The news we received is absolutely true. Right at this moment, another voice sounded. Immediately after, a woman walked out. This woman was very beautiful. She was wearing a long blue dress and was slender and elegant. Her skin was like ivory, and nothing could be more beautiful. Beside this woman, there was seawater surging, carrying her. Standing in the void of the universe, she was like an unharmed sea god. I am Zhong Wuqing, 8th on the Abyss leaderboard. Heavens, these three people were all on the Abyss leaderboard. Moreover, they were all top purple ranked geniuses. They appeared together and firmly surrounded Lin Xian. Kid, it should be the green-robed man from before. He seemed to have detected something on you, but I think he guessed wrong. He thought you had a spatial magic treasure on you. The dark red divine dragon could easily pass through the black soil. Do you need my help? No need. Lin Xian also transmitted his voice. Just focus on your cultivation. I don't care about these three people. It just so happens that I've recently been reborn, and my strength has broken through. Besides, I've also created a few skills. It's not a bad idea to use them as practice. Lin Xian's eyes emitted a shocking light. He looked at the three top powerhouses beside him and sneered. Oh, the purple rank on the Abyss leaderboard. The three of you together are not bad, but unfortunately, you're still no match for me. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the three powerhouses around him sank. They were geniuses, half-sages. His strength was so great that no one could compare to him. Any one of them could easily defeat a group of people. If the three of them worked together, they could suppress everything. No one could escape from their hands. And yet, this kid in front of them dared to be so arrogant. How insolent. Another cold laugh was heard. I didn't care when you invited me here, but now I'm a little interested. Kid, what right do you have to be so smug in front of us? This time, it was an old voice, followed by an old figure walking out. It was an old man with silver white hair and red eyes. His figure was not tall, and there was no terrifying energy surrounding him. Chapter 3288. The Giant Demon Clan. The Three Purple Ranked Clans. The Giant Demon Clan. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It seemed that this wasn't a young genius, but an expert of the older generation. He had heard of the Giant Demon Clan before. It was a very terrifying clan, one of the 4 ancient races. Normally, they were short and could store energy, but once they started fighting, their power was truly terrifying. They were like human-shaped tyrannosauruses. Their physiques were unimaginably strong. You think you can defeat them with just the few of you? Lin Xian didn't show any fear. If I'm not wrong, you were invited here by someone, right? Where is that person? Tell him to come out. Are you talking about me? The sky suddenly split open, and a figure descended from the sky. Like a peerless saber light, he instantly appeared in front of everyone. He brought about a powerful storm, causing the expressions of the 4 top experts to change. But soon they smiled. They didn't expect that the other party would come personally. This way, there would be no mistakes. Even if this kid was a true dragon, they would be able to suppress him. Sure enough, it's you. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a cold light as he stared at the figure. The other party was a handsome man with a sinister smile on his face. It was the person who had used his soul to spy on him before. Sure enough, these people were all called by the green-robed man. However, what made Lin Xian frown was that he could sense that although the green-robed man's appearance hadn't changed, his aura was different. This aura was much stronger than before. His soul was very powerful, so he could recognize at a glance that although the man from before was also a half-saint, it seemed that he had just broken through not long ago. In front of him, his strength was not enough. However, although the young man in front of him didn't deliberately release his aura, he could sense that this green-robed man was the strongest among these people. I didn't expect Brother Zhao to come personally. The beautiful woman, Zhong Wuqing, laughed coquettishly. Kid, kneel down obediently and hand over the spatial treasure. I can spare your life. Otherwise, I'll make a move and you'll definitely die. That's right. Do you know who the man in front of you is? He's Zhao Wuliang, ranked 5th on the Abyss leaderboard. Do you think you can contend against him? This was immeasurable. This time it was Lin Xian's turn to be surprised. He had never imagined that the person before him would have such a background. Zhao Wuliang's ranking was very high. Furthermore, he knew that this ranking should be the ranking of Zhao Wuliang from several decades ago. Zhao Wuliang's true strength should be even higher. But why was it that when he first met the other party's aura was very weak, and he was able to easily injure the other party with soul collision? Could it be that the other party had been hiding all this while? This made him extremely puzzled. All right, kid, are you going to obediently hand over your magical treasure now? Or are you going to be suppressed by us and suffer a fate worse than death? Zhao Wuliang, who was at the front, put away his smile. A piercingly cold light burst out from his eyes, enveloping this part of the world. With just you guys? I'm afraid you don't have the qualifications to be arrogant in front of me. Lin Xian circled around, completely unconcerned. He really didn't care. After all, the strongest person here was Zhao Wuliang, but Zhao Wuliang was only ranked 5th. He was ranked 1st on the Abyss leaderboard. Probably only Di Ling could compete with him. As for the others, Lin Xian really didn't put them in his eyes. Not to mention, he even killed his old enemy, the Great Demon. He was even reborn, and his strength had greatly increased. How could these people be his opponents? On the opposite side, those people also laughed. What an arrogant kid. Well, my strength has increased greatly over the years, and I can use him to practice. Their eyes burst out with bright light. Buzz. At this moment, someone made a move. It was Gao Chong, who was ranked 13th on the leaderboard. He rushed over in an instant, and the terrifying law fragments all over his body were constantly waving. One of his hands blasted forward. His entire palm quickly turned black, like black gold, and pierced through the clouds. Facing such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian didn't retreat at all. He also stretched out his palm and slapped forward. On the other party's fist, there were terrifying law fragments, and in an instant, it turned into metal. Moreover, it was a very terrifying metal. Obviously, the other party had comprehended the law of metal. Although they were both of the law of metal, the other party's comprehension was different from Lin Xian's. Lin Xian was able to increase his attack power, while his opponent was able to metallize his body, making his physique even more powerful. However, so what if he was stronger? Who dared to compete with him in terms of physique? Even the supreme demon body of the great demon was not his opponent. Not to mention, his body was now metallized. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out as the two collided. It was like two mountains clashing in the sky. A terrifying aura instantly exploded, sweeping in all directions. In the endless void cracks, a figure flew out. His entire arm was completely split open, and it was covered with cracks. It made one's scalp tingle. Damn it! What was going on with his physique? How could he be so strong? The one who flew out was Gao Chong. His face was full of shock, and he couldn't believe it. He had comprehended the law of metal. This punch of his was so powerful that no one could withstand it. He could even compete with the old man from the giant demon clan. But now he had been injured by the other party's punch, and even his arm had been shattered. It was really hard to believe. The others were also shocked, and their pupils shrank. However, at this time, another person made a move. The one who made a move was the old man from the giant demon clan. When he saw the strength of Lin Xian's physique, his eyes lit up. Obviously, Lin Xian's physique had aroused his interest. His entire body shot out, instantly crashing through the void, and arrived in front of Lin Xian. The powerful force caused the surrounding space to solidify, forming an invisible cage that enveloped Lin Xian. At the same time, his right leg kicked out like a coiling dragon. His target was Lin Xian's head. Boom! This kick did not have any light, only an incomparably heavy force. The void within 1,000,000 miles completely collapsed in an instant. Moreover, the aftermath of this energy quickly spread in all directions. Soon it spread over millions of miles. This kick was truly terrifying. As expected of a powerhouse from the giant demon clan, this kick could blast a half-saint into pieces. Humph! Lin Xian sneered. He still struck out with his palm, and a golden light flashed. It was like a heavenly monument had been blasted out. An even more terrifying sound rang out, and the void within 1,000,000 miles shattered. The other experts also unleashed their law fragments to resist the attack. In the next moment, they were dumbfounded. Chapter 3289. They found that during the collision, the giant demon clan old man's right leg quickly split open, and then exploded into a mist of blood. The giant demon clan elder was also sent flying. How could this be? How could he be so strong? Gao Chong couldn't believe it. Yan Kuan and Zhong Wuqing were also shocked. Zhao Wuliang's face darkened. He was indeed strong. He should be a top expert. Don't be careless. There are countless experts in the universe and many of them aren't even on the rankings. He might be one of them. Show me your full strength. Lin Xian's strength was beyond their expectations. However, they knew that Zhao Wuliang was right. There were countless living beings in the universe, and the abyss rankings couldn't rank them. There were many hidden experts. The young man in front of them might be one of them. However, so what if he was strong? The 5 of them could suppress him if they joined forces. Buzz! Yan Kuan roared. Lightning exploded from his body, forming a lightning sun that pressed down from the sky. On the other side, Zhong Wuqing also attacked. With a wave of her jade-like hand, the black seawater that filled the sky came crashing down. Boom! 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 Both of their attacks covered a large area and Lin Xian was instantly enveloped. Both of them sneered. Their opponent would definitely be injured if he were to be hit by their attacks. Although they weren't close combat powerhouses, their mystiques were terrifying. Lin Xian's body began to tremble under this attack. Light blossomed from the surface of his body, but it quickly stabilized. Lin Xian roared. His body emitted millions of rays of light that rushed in all directions. In an instant he was in front of Lin Xian. The bronze spear in his hand pierced forward. The sky was filled with the law of metal like a tsunami, rushing forward to kill. Lin Xian stretched out his golden hand and grabbed the bronze spear. Then he swung it forcefully. With a clang, the bronze spear was broken in half. Gao Chong retreated. At the same time, the giant demon clan elder attacked. His physical body had become extremely terrifying. He punched out with the force of 1,000,000 mountains. The large black palm pressed toward the void. Instantly, the space around Lin Xian shattered, turning into countless large black holes. Lin Xian's body began to sway once again as light flickered on it. It was clear that the old man from the giant demon race was extremely terrifying. However, Lin Xian's physique far surpassed their imaginations. The nine-yang divine body only shook a little before it became as stable as Mount Tai. However, before Lin Xian could counterattack, the other two divine abilities came at him again. Ruoshui 3000. 3,000 waves rushed over, bringing with them terrifying law of water fragments. Like 3,000 black pythons, they quickly coiled around Lin Xian and bound him. It wanted to crush his body into pieces. This power was extremely terrifying and pervasive. At the same time, the lightning laws that filled the sky began to descend from the sky. They turned into tens of thousands of lightning whips. And with a gentle wave, the starry sky and outer space collapsed and the earth cracked. These four people were all top-notch half-saints. They were extremely terrifying. At this moment, the four of them attacked together, destroying everything. However, Lin Xian's body bloomed with light. Like a golden god of war, he stepped on the 8 wastelands and suppressed a part of the world. These energies circulated around his body, but they couldn't hurt him at all. Explode. No one knew who shouted coldly, but the energy around Lin Xian instantly exploded, and a black hole swallowed him. This time he should be dead. The four of them sneered as they stared at the black hole in front of them. But soon, the black hole was broken by a punch, and a golden figure rushed out. It was Lin Xian. You're just SOSO. However, if you want my life, then go to hell. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a piercing cold light. Previously, he wanted to see how terrifying these experts on the Abyss list were. Now, it seemed that they were just SOSO. Now, these people were no match for him at all. I've seen your divine abilities. Next, you'll see my divine abilities. There was a terrifying power circulating around Lin Xian's body. How is this possible? He's not injured? When the four people saw Lin Xian rush out of the black hole, they were dumbfounded. Damn it. Their faces darkened, but in the next moment they screamed. This was because they found that countless fire laws danced on Lin Xian's palm, forming a lotus. The flaming lotus continued to burn and expand, carrying with it a destructive power. It was as if it could destroy the world. Now, take my self-created divine ability, Annihilation Flame Lotus. With a wave of his hand, the Annihilation Flame Lotus flew out and instantly enveloped Gao Chong and the giant demon clan elder. No. Damn it. The two of them roared crazily. One of them circulated with green light and completely turned into metal. The other giant demon clan elder took out a white giant hammer and waved it. Chapter 3290. Boom. The Annihilation Fire Lotus enveloped the two of them and erupted with unparalleled power. Everything in front of them was annihilated. When the Fire Lotus disappeared, Yan Kuan and Zhong Wuqing were stunned. They were so frightened that their bodies trembled and their scalps split open. Because Gao Chong and the giant demon race old man had disappeared, only blood floated down from the sky. The two of them had died without leaving behind a corpse. How was this possible? Gao Chong was an expert ranked 13th on the rankings. The law of metal made his body abnormally strong after turning it into metal. The giant demon race old man was the same. In fact, he was even more terrifying than Gao Chong. The two of them were extremely terrifying physique experts among half-sages. But now, the two of them had been reduced to ashes, their bodies and souls destroyed. Who was this kid? What on earth was that flame lotus just now? Was it a self-created ability? What a joke. They didn't believe that a young man could create such a terrifying ability. Brother Zhao, we don't care about this matter anymore. We don't want the reward you gave us. Yan Kuan and Zhong Wuqing hurriedly turned around and fled. It was too terrifying. If that annihilation fire lotus had flown towards them, they probably wouldn't have been able to block it. Originally, Zhao Wuliang had found them and offered them extremely high rewards to lure them into action. In their opinion, with so many experts attacking together, they would even dare to fight a saint. But now, they discovered that they had been too naive. They had met this person who was extremely terrifying and unfathomable. He could kill an expert on the Abyss rankings with a raise of his hand. They absolutely couldn't provoke such a person. The two of them were both peak half-sages and were extremely powerful. In an instant they were 1,000,000 miles away. Facing the two fleeing people, Lin Xian didn't chase after them. His eyes flickered with golden light as he stared at the two figures 1,000,000 miles away. In the next moment, he clasped his fingers and gently flicked them. The black nomological law fragment quickly fused into the void and disappeared without a trace. 1,000,000 miles away, the two of them let out a sigh of relief. In an instant, they would be able to travel 20,000 miles away and leave this place completely. Then they would leave and no longer care about this matter. But in the next moment, before they could move, they were frightened to the point that their bodies went numb. An extremely terrifying force surged towards them. Not good. Their expressions changed. Even though they were millions of miles away, the other party was still able to attack them with such precision. This truly surprised them. However, the two of them would not sit still and wait for death. Yan Kuan opened his mouth and spat out a terrifying bolt of thunder. Endless fragments of thunder laws wove together to form a thunder Dao diagram that revolved around him. Zhong Wuqing was even more powerful. She was ranked 8th on the Abyss rankings. At this moment, with a wave of her hands, she actually summoned the first heaven water. This was an extremely terrifying type of water, incomparably thick and heavy. It was rumored that the first heaven heavy water could crush a half-saint to death. At this moment, she summoned it to block in front of her, blocking that terrible attack. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief after summoning their strongest defensive measures. However, in the next moment their hair stood on end. They wanted to escape, but they couldn't. They saw that the lightning Dao diagram and the heavenly water were quickly disappearing and melting. In the blink of an eye, they were gone. Not only that, but their bodies were also gradually disintegrating, as if they were about to be annihilated. No. The two of them screamed and blocked crazily, but they couldn't block this annihilation power at all. In the next moment, their minds were destroyed, and they didn't even have time to scream. Dead. 2 experts on the Abyss rankings had died again. Now 3 top experts on the Abyss rankings and a giant demon expert had all been killed. This was really too unbelievable. In the distance, Zhao Wuliang looked at this scene and sucked in a breath of cold air. The other party actually had such a method. Who was this person? He realized that he seemed to have made a wrong decision by coming to find the other party. He wanted to leave, but he knew that he couldn't leave, because he was locked onto by the other party's gaze. Stop. If you have something to say, let's talk nicely. I'm ranked 5th. If you want to kill me, you'll have to pay a great price. Maybe we'll all die together. Why don't we shake hands and make peace? I know the whereabouts of the void treasure, and we'll join forces to search for it. How about it? If there were others here, they would definitely be stunned, because Zhao Wuliang actually admitted defeat. This was really too unbelievable. This was Zhao Wuliang, who was ranked 5th on the Abyss rankings, but at this moment he had no choice but to lower his head in front of Lin Xian. No need. Since you dared to come and kill me, and you even joined forces with so many experts, do you think I'll let you go? You're courting death. Zhao Wuliang was furious. Who dared to not give him face? He raised his hand and a ray of light shot out. However, his body flew into the distance. There was no other way. Lin Xian's methods were too terrifying. With a raise of his hand, for top half-saints were killed just like that. He didn't dare to fight such a person head-on. Lin Xian blasted the blade light away with a punch. He looked ahead at the figure that had escaped into the darkness, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. I said you can't escape. In an instant he flicked his finger. He flicked his finger, and immediately, the power of annihilation flew out again. The void in front of him quickly collapsed. Zhao Wuliang screamed like a madman. He shot out shocking blade light, but he was still unable to stop the power of annihilation. Buzz. Suddenly he stopped in place. A ray of white light merged into the void and disappeared. Pucci. The body of the green-robed man. He turned into ashes in the air. During this process, a scream was heard. It was very painful, but it only lasted for a moment. There was no trace of him. Zhao Wuliang was also killed. The 5 top half-saints who came to kill Lin Xian were all killed here. This was really too shocking. One had to know that this wasn't a life-and-death battle, but a one-sided massacre. After Lin Xian was reborn and created his own divine ability, his strength had undergone earth-shattering changes. The current half-saints were no match for him at all. Perhaps only a sage would be able to contend against him. However, Lin Xian frowned and seemed to be a little puzzled. Golden light flickered in his eyes, and soon, the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. So that's how it is. You actually have 2 souls. Although I don't know what's going on, come out. He waved his hand. In front of him in the dark void, a scream was heard as someone flew away quickly. The original darkness was shrouded in endless flames and burned fiercely. Then a hazy white figure appeared and floated in the void. Its eyes were cold. Damn it, how did you find me? He looked very similar to the green-robed man from before, but his eyes were more terrifying. It was obvious that this wasn't the green-robed man from before. Chapter 3291. The figure in front of him snorted coldly. I am the real Zhao Wuliang. Is that so? I'm afraid this isn't your true body either. You actually dared to send a clone to kill me. You really don't know what's good for you. Lin Xian immediately understood what was going on. At their level, it wasn't difficult to create a body of energy and inject their soul into it to form a clone. Lin Xian could create multiple doppelgangers, but such doppelgangers were created from his own energy and soul. If they were killed, it would cause considerable damage to his main body. Therefore, after using the doppelgangers, he would usually retrieve his soul and the doppelganger's energy form. It seems that your true body can't move. What will happen if I kill your clone? Lin Xian sneered. Damn it! You dare to kill my clone? Zhao Wuliang roared crazily. If his clone was destroyed, his body would definitely be injured. It would be dangerous for him to participate in the Vermilion Bird List competition. Kid, I didn't want to attack you at first, but you forced my hand. In front of him, the white figure quickly formed a seal. A piercing light burst out from its eyes, forming a strange pattern. Then the space in front of him was instantly torn open. Lin Xian was also sent flying. With a clang, his body swayed, and a crack appeared on it. This is saber technique. He was surprised. He quickly suppressed the roiling blood in his body, and the crack on his body also healed. He was surprised that his opponent's eye technique attack was so powerful. It was really rare. One had to know that ordinary eye techniques attacked the soul. For example, he had mastered many kinds of eye techniques. He could burn the soul, control the soul, and even cast illusions on the soul. However, it was rare to see an eye technique that directly attacked the true body, especially one that was so powerful. His opponent's eye technique was very strange. He didn't die? Zhao Wuliang was surprised. His face was cold. Damn it, he was only slightly injured. He found it hard to believe. His eye technique was very famous. It was called the Divine Eye of the Heavenly Saber. His saber light was too cold. No one among the half-saints could withstand it. He had even used his eye technique to cut open a half-saint artifact. Originally, he thought that if he used his eye technique unexpectedly, he would definitely be able to cut his opponent in half. If he was lucky, he might even be able to kill his opponent. But who would have thought that even though the other party was pushed back, cracks would also appear on his body. However, that was all. With a slight sway of his body, he recovered to his original state. From the looks of it, he was not seriously injured at all. What a strange ocular technique. Lin Xian flew over and said coldly. However, even if your main body was here, you might not be able to hurt me, let alone a mere clone. Damn it. You dare to destroy my clone? My main body will definitely not let you off. The white silhouette in front of him roared crazily. If your true body dares to come here, I'll kill you as well. A fiery red lotus appeared in Lin Xian's hand and flew forward. Zhao Wuliang's clone frantically counterattacked. However, the power of the destruction lotus was something he could not block at all. Thus, in an instant, the clone vanished into thin air. Lin Xian didn't care about Zhao Wuliang's original body at all. Let's go. With a wave of his hand, 5 storage rings flew over from the sky. They were the storage rings of the 5 half-saints from before. Lin Xian's soul entered the storage rings and he smiled. It looked like his harvest was not bad. At least, he had earned back all the divine crystals he had lost from collecting information, and even more. It was time to go to planet Suzaku. Lin Xian entered the spirit boat and quickly threw out a shield. 2.5 months later, they arrived at planet Suzaku. At this moment, planet Suzaku was very lively. The moment the news of the Suzaku ranking competition came out, countless powerful cultivators and geniuses rushed over. After all, everyone wanted to become famous and gain the support of a powerful force. For example, Yan Nantian was so famous that he could gain the support of the Suzaku Palace. And if someone else rose up during the Suzaku ranking competition, then they would definitely gain the support of other top forces. If that happened, there would be an endless supply of cultivation resources in the future. Lin Xian's spirit boat landed on the ground and found that there were many spirit boats flying by. Each of them carried a powerful aura. Wow, there are actually so many people. The dark red dragon was startled. Lin Xian also circled the area. There were indeed a lot of people, but he didn't care. Aside from a few people who could threaten him, the others couldn't even withstand a single blow. Kid, let's keep a low profile later. After all, Yan Nantian is in cahoots with the Suzaku Palace. And the Suzaku Palace is the overlord of this planet. If we are discovered, Yan Nantian will secretly mobilize powerful cultivators of the Suzaku Palace to kill us before the competition even starts. Then the situation won't be good. Okay, I'll try to keep a low profile. Lin Xian nodded, but a hint of killing intent appeared in his eyes. The dark red dragon sighed. However, he knew that Lin Xian's strength had increased greatly. Even a sage might not be able to suppress him. However, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he still changed his form. He was no longer in his dragon form, but a man in a black robe. After the dark red dragon transformed into his human form, he was extremely handsome and elegant. However, there was a hint of arrogance in his smile. Come, kid. Take a look at my human form. What do you think? Am I handsome? Would he be able to charm those girls to death? Lin Xian. After leaving the atmosphere, Lin Xian and the dark red dragon left the spirit boat and looked around. Let's find a city to land in first. The two of them chose a direction and quickly flew away. Yeah, let's go in that direction. Along the way, the little white monkey pointed to the left. Okay, let's go there. Lin Xian and the dark red dragon changed directions. After flying for about 4 hours, they saw a huge city appear in front of them. Their luck was not bad. The two of them flew toward the huge city, Sunset City. Looking at this city, it should be one of the main cities of planet Suzaku. After entering, they learned that this was indeed one of the 12 main cities of planet Suzaku. It was very lively inside, and there was an endless stream of powerful cultivators. It was obvious that these people had all come from other worlds and landed here. Suddenly, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The dark red dragon also looked up at the sky. Someone was coming. Sure enough, everyone else also looked up at the sky. They all felt a powerful pressure crushing down from the sky. There was no doubt that this was an extremely powerful cultivator. Whoosh! A few figures descended from the sky. However, these figures were soon taken away. Their powerful auras still lingered in the air. Who were those figures just now? He couldn't see them clearly. There must be something on their bodies that was concealing their auras. Sounds of discussion could be heard. The vermilion bird trial had indeed attracted countless powerful cultivators this time. Of course, they couldn't enter the abyss for the time being. If others wanted to become famous, they could only enter the vermilion bird trial. Who would be coming this time? Chapter 3292. It had to be Yin Nantian. He was like the sun in the sky, and he was the successor of a great emperor. More importantly, he had joined the Vermilion Bird Palace. It was said that the Vermilion Bird leaderboard was created for him. Indeed, Yin Nantian was very powerful, and there was probably no one who could contend against him. How terrifying was the successor of a great emperor? Unless the successor of a great emperor, or the son of a great emperor came. Not necessarily. Someone retorted. I think that if the successor of the 9 sons and the great demon came, they would definitely be able to compete with him. As soon as he said this, the surrounding warriors all nodded in agreement. Indeed, the news of the great demon and the successor of the 9 sons had spread throughout the universe. Many people knew about it, and they had even seen the recorded images. However, some people shook their heads. It was useless. The two of them had died together, and they would never appear again. Yes, the dead were not qualified to compete with Yin Nantian. However, there were still a few people alive who could threaten Yin Nantian. Yes, the number 1 on the Abyss leaderboard definitely had the strength. There was also Long Zhaotian and Zhao Wuliang. They were both very terrifying. You seem to have forgotten someone. Yin Ruyu, that peerless beauty. Her name was only above Zhao Wuliang's. Everyone discussed animatedly, and the names on the leaderboard appeared one after another. At that moment someone said, if that's the case, then you've missed out on one person. That was the number 1 on the leaderboard, Lin Wudi, who was on par with Di Ling. That Lin Wudi was indeed very strong. He was actually ranked first on the leaderboard. However, recently Yin Nantian, Zhao Wuliang, and the others' strength had increased by leaps and bounds. They should be able to compete with Lin Wudi. They were all talking about the top 5 existences on the Abyss leaderboard. That was because those people were the most likely to compete with Yin Nantian, and most of them were candidates for the number 1 on the Vermilion Bird leaderboard. However, someone said, don't be too careless. As far as I know, many hidden experts have appeared this time. There are even rumors that a saint has arrived. What? A saint-level expert? When those words were said, the surrounding people were stunned. What kind of concept was that? A saint had come to participate in the Vermilion Bird leaderboard. Yin Nantian, Di Ling, Zhao Wuliang, and the others were all half-martial Sacred Realm experts. Of course, I've only heard about it. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if there will be any saints, but I heard that there might be a few new top geniuses who will be born soon. Among them, there seemed to be a few geniuses from the Vermilion Bird Palace. They hadn't stood out before, nor had they participated in the Abyss rankings, but their talent and strength were abnormally strong. This time he might be able to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat, and defeat those veteran experts. Everyone was discussing this. Without exception, it was clear that the competition for the Vermilion Bird leaderboard was even more intense than the Abyss leaderboard. There were actually so many experts here. It seemed like there was no hope this time. Many people sighed. Initially, they had thought that the battle this time might not be that famous, and that not many people would come. Other than Yin Nantian, they might be able to take advantage of the other rankings. But now, it seemed that they had been too naive. The influence of the Vermilion Bird leaderboard had far exceeded their expectations. It had actually attracted so many experts, and it was even rumored that saints were about to descend. These people could only be bystanders. But no matter what, they had to give it a try. After Lin Xian and the dark red dragon heard this, their eyes flickered. Suddenly, Lin Xian frowned and a piercing cold light burst out from his eyes. He saw a person looking at them from a few streets not far from him. He was dumbfounded, as if he couldn't believe it. That person was wearing a red robe with 2 patterns embroidered on it. It was very strange. When he saw Lin Xian's gaze, he immediately trembled and withdrew his gaze. He turned around and disappeared into the void. What's going on? The dark red divine dragon asked when it saw Lin Xian's expression change. I saw someone very strange, so I'll go take a look. After saying this, his body flickered and he also disappeared. While the others were still discussing which experts had arrived, a figure quickly shuttled back and forth. He was sweating profusely. This man was wearing a red robe. He was from the Vermilion Bird Palace. At this moment, he was extremely frightened because he saw someone who shouldn't have appeared. How could the successor of the Nine Sons still be alive? This person had seen Lin Xian before because he had seen Lin Xian's portrait from Yan Nantian. At that time, he was only curious about the true appearance of the successor of the Nine Sons who could compete with the Great Demon. Therefore, he saw Lin Xian's portrait. But today, he saw a person who looked exactly like the successor of the Nine Sons. This made him extremely frightened. Could it be that the successor of the Nine Sons wasn't dead? No, this news had to spread. He had to inform the Vermilion Bird Palace and Yan Nantian. They had to be on guard and even take action in advance. There was no other way. The successor of the Nine Sons was too terrifying. Even the Great Demon was no match for him. Now that he was alive, he was a huge threat to Yan Nantian. Where do you think you're going? At this moment, a cold voice came from behind him. Immediately after, the Vermilion Bird Palace warrior's body trembled, and he turned around. He was scared out of his wits. Damn it, it's you. You're the successor of the Nine Sons. You're not dead? He was extremely shocked. Looks like you do recognize me. Since that's the case, I can't let you live. If I'm not wrong, you should know Yan Nantian. That's right. Not only do I know Yan Nantian, I'm also from the Vermilion Bird Palace. This is our territory. Hurry up and let me go. Otherwise, if you anger me, the Vermilion Bird Palace will destroy your body and soul. You still dare to threaten me. Looks like you really don't know what's good for you. Since you're Yan Nantian's man, then die. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a cold light. Courting death. You dare to attack me? The Vermilion Bird Palace warrior's expression changed. Ah. He roared crazily. Men. The successor of the Nine Sons is here. His voice was like thunder, resounding in all directions. However, Lin Xian sneered. Don't waste your energy. I've already set up an array. Even if you scream yourself hoarse, the people outside won't know. Damn it, I'll fight it out with you. The Vermilion Bird Palace warrior roared crazily. A flaming saber appeared in his hand. The fragments of the Law of Fire on it burned fiercely. He was also a half-saint. The saber slashed down like a vermilion bird pouncing over. Buzz. Lin Xian pointed forward, and a wisp of sword chi flew out. The next moment, he retracted his hand and stood with his hands behind his back. How was that possible? Chapter 3293. He discovered that his life force had been extinguished. His body was turning into nothingness. The other party had killed him with one move? Was this the successor of the Nine Sons? How could he be so terrifying? He wanted to struggle, but in an instant he disappeared. His body and soul had been destroyed. It seemed that this was a little troublesome. Lin Xian frowned. He didn't expect someone to recognize him. The other party was right. After all, this was Vermilion Bird. He didn't want to attract the attention of a few sages before the competition. If it was a normal ranking, he would just cause a ruckus here and leave. However, he couldn't do that now. He had an agreement with Planet Langya, and first place in the Vermilion Bird rankings was very important to him. He had to get the Earth Dao Stone. The next moment, Lin Xian waved his hand and a hazy light appeared around his body. His face was especially mysterious. It blocked all gazes. Even one soul couldn't see through it. This way no one should be able to discover him, right? At least before the competition, he would be safe. After doing all this, he returned to the Dark Red Divine Dragon. The Dark Red Divine Dragon was shocked at first. Who was this person? When he reached out with his soul, he couldn't see the other party's face clearly. Lin Xian said, "It's me. Kid, it's actually you. What's going on? One of Yan Nantian's subordinates discovered me, but I already killed him. Damn it, has Yan Nantian's faction become so powerful? Even the people of Vermilion Bird Palace can work for him." It seemed that he didn't just join Vermilion Bird Palace. Just ignore him. When the competition starts, I'll just kill him. Lin Xian didn't care too much. Let's go find a place to stay. They waited for the Vermilion Bird rankings to begin. The two of them left. They found a place to stay. Originally, the place was overcrowded and there wasn't even a place to stay. However, Lin Xian had just killed 5 peak half-sages. He had a lot of resources in his storage ring. It could be said that he was filthy rich. He directly used resources to forcefully build a courtyard. After entering, the Crimson Divine Dragon set up a formation. Lin Xian also looked around. Not bad, the environment here was not bad. There was a spirit gathering formation in the surroundings and a spirit vein underground. It was indeed a good place to live temporarily. The two of them rested for a while. When it was late, they prepared to go out and eat something. At their cultivation level, eating and drinking was no longer important. However, there were still many half-sages and even sages. They weren't eating, but tasting delicious food. The dark red mystical dragon was even more so. He was drooling. On the way here, he had heard that someone had hunted a heaven and earth variant. He wondered how delicious it would be. Lin Xian and the Crimson Divine Dragon were walking out. There were a few young experts around them who were extremely excited. He had heard that the people from the Sky Qin Palace had come, and that they were going to play the zither today. He had to listen to that peerless celestial music. He definitely could not miss it. That's right. I wonder who is so generous to actually be able to invite people from the Sky Qin Palace. If it was those geniuses, it would be even better. Rumor had it that their music contained the Tao of heaven and earth. After listening to it, it would be very beneficial to one's cultivation and comprehension of heaven and earth. As they spoke, they turned into streaks of light and shot forward at high speed. Sunset Pavilion? Sky Qin Palace? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The vermilion bird beside him was also shocked. Is it that sect? They actually came too. Oh, you know? The Vermilion Bird Palace nodded. The Sky Qin Palace is very famous. It probably isn't any worse than the Vermilion Bird Palace. However, the Sky Qin Palace isn't on planet Suzaku. It's on another world. Their sex weapon is the zither. Their spells are also related to the zither. Let's go and take a look. Perhaps there will be some unexpected gains. The Vermilion Bird was also a bit excited. Okay. Lin Xian nodded. The two of them also walked toward the Sunset Pavilion. The Sunset Pavilion was very lively at the moment. It was packed with people. They weren't ordinary people, but very powerful cultivators. There were even a few half-sages here. However, none of them entered the Sunset Pavilion. The reason for that was because the fee to enter the Sunset Pavilion was extremely high. Even a normal half-sage would feel the pinch. Damn it, this Sunset Pavilion is taking advantage of the situation. Many people in the crowd gritted their teeth. Lin Xian and the Vermilion Bird walked to the front. Their eyes lit up. There were also many people inside. It was obvious that they were all even more terrifying existences. Lin Xian didn't care about the huge entrance fee. He took out the corresponding amount from the storage rings of the Vermilion Bird Palace cultivators he killed, and then walked in with the Vermilion Bird Palace with the Vermilion Bird Palace cultivator. There were indeed many people inside, and all of them had outstanding talents and powerful auras. It was obvious that they were powerful cultivators. There were already many people sitting at the front. The Sunset Pavilion's standards were very high. Everyone here had status, so no one was willing to squeeze with others. Therefore, everyone had a certain area where they sat. It was really carefree and happy. There were only 2 seats left. Lin Xian and the Vermilion Bird Palace walked to them. The two had just sat down when they heard a cold voice. This place is already occupied. Get lost. As soon as this voice sounded, countless gazes looked at Lin Xian and the Vermilion Bird Palace. Lin Xian's face flickered, so his expression couldn't be seen clearly. However, the Vermilion Bird Palace beside him was furious. Someone actually told them to get lost. Did they have a death wish? Who's making a big fuss here? Get over here. The Vermilion Bird Palace also snorted coldly. As soon as this voice sounded, many people became interested. Their eyes were filled with schadenfreude. They actually dared to oppose Brother Yin. They really had a death wish. Who were these two people? Did they have a powerful background? They didn't recognize them. They looked unfamiliar. However, they must have some status to be able to come here. So what if they had status? They would definitely end up in a miserable state. Sounds of discussion could be heard. Indeed, as soon as the Vermilion Bird Palace's voice sounded, a figure walked over from the front. It was a tall man in a cloud robe. His face was cold. At this moment, his eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at the Vermilion Bird Palace. You were the one who dared to scold me just now. Damn, you dare to provoke me? The Vermilion Bird Palace was about to go berserk, but it was held down by Lin Xian. Lin Xian raised his head and looked at the other party. We paid to enter this place. Naturally, we can sit here. I don't want to kill you. Get out of my sight. Although Lin Xian wasn't angry, his words sounded even more arrogant. The surrounding people started discussing. Damn, this kid is even more arrogant. Who is he? He doesn't want to kill? Heavens, he still wants to kill the other party. I think this kid's mind will be destroyed. No one has ever dared to threaten me. Kid, don't force me to kill you. At this moment, another person walked out from behind the Vermilion Bird Palace. He looked at Lin Xian and sneered. Chapter 3294. Our brother Yun's elder brother is a peerless prodigy, known as Guijian. Our brother Yun's uncle is Cloud Sky Saint. Can you afford to offend him? Cloud Sky Saint. Lin Xian was stunned. It seemed that the other party's background was not small. But so what? The dark red dragon beside him also sneered. What Guijian? Never heard of him. You guys really don't know what's good for you. You haven't even heard of Guijian? Let me tell you, Guijian is the favorite to win the championship this time. Do you know that? Now that you dare to provoke Gijian's younger brother, hurry up and kneel down, kowtow, and admit your mistakes. As the voice sounded, the atmosphere in the entire space froze. Everyone was sneering. They knew that Lin Xian and Yin He were dead meat. However, Lin Xian raised his head, and the corners of his mouth curled into a disdainful smile. So it was a fox pretending to be a tiger. After saying so much, it's just that your brother and uncle are powerful. You should be a good-for-nothing. If you want to find trouble with me, at least get your uncle and brother here, right? You don't have the right. Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. You're courting death. In front, the tall man was enraged. No one had ever dared to provoke him like this. He raised his hand, and a terrifying aura surged from his body. However, in the next moment, he flew out with a bang. Lin Xian slowly retracted his palm. I hate it when people threaten me. Boom. The tall youth flew out. He shattered the void with a sound like thunder. The surrounding elite cultivators were all dumbfounded. Someone actually dared to attack Yin He. Did he want to die? The dark red dragon laughed loudly. Kid, how satisfying. I've long wanted to attack you. Yin He was sent flying by Lin Xian's palm. He shattered the void, and the blood in his body roiled. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his entire face was terrifyingly black. He attacked. The other party actually dared to attack him. No one had ever dared to touch him. One had to know that once his brother and uncle's names were out, even the top prodigies did not dare to touch him. Even Yin Nantian did not dare to touch him. Yet the other party dared to touch him? He wanted the other party dead. He wanted the other party's soul to be destroyed. Kill. With a roar, Yin He rushed over. He struck out with his palm with terrifying power. Mysterious cloud patterns appeared between his fingers. Clearly, this was the law of clouds. Lin Xian wasn't afraid as he stared at the terrifying white cloud hand. He waited until the hand was right in front of him before he shot out a flame. The fire burned, igniting the white cloud palm. Ah! Yin He screamed. His body was on fire, and white smoke rose from his body. The pain drove him crazy. Damn it, he was really mad. He could not believe that the other party's comprehension of laws was actually above his. Just as he screamed, in the next moment he fell to the ground, trembling uncontrollably. That was because the overflowing flames had turned into a fire dragon, spiraling around him. Like a coiling dragon, it suppressed the other party to the ground. "Ah, damn it, I'm going to kill you." Yunhee screamed like a madman as a terrifying force rushed out of his body. A large azure banner flew out of his eyes. It fluttered in the wind and turned into a storm, entangling the coiling dragon phantom. Whoosh! He rushed out. A silver sword appeared in his hand, and he stabbed forward. Both of them were half-step sacred artifacts. The biting cold sword Qi stabbed forward, and instantly arrived in front of Lin Xian. But in the next moment, he was sent flying again. Lin Xian stretched out a large golden hand and slapped forward. It was like a golden mountain, and it instantly turned the other party's arm into a bloody mist. The half-step sacred artifact sword fell to the ground, and Yunhee spat out blood as he flew backward. Lin Xian pointed again, and the terrifying law of water surged out, turning into a monstrous wave that surged in front of him. Boom! 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 The seawater hit Yunhee's body, smashing his body. Yunhee's body was like a broken piece of porcelain, covered in cracks. In the end, he was pressed to the ground by the wave, unable to resist at all. The surrounding people gasped, and their faces were full of shock. Yunhee was actually suppressed, and he was easily beaten up. This was simply too inconceivable. Some of the people who knew Yunhee were even more shocked. They knew that Yunhee was arrogant, but Yunhee was not weak. His opponent was a half-step sacred, and a genius. It was just that he was overshadowed by his uncle and brother's brilliance. But if anyone underestimated Yunhee because of this, they would definitely be at a disadvantage, or even lose their lives. But such a genius expert was actually beaten up. Who was this person in front of them? Why was his strength so terrifying? For a moment, the air was terrifyingly quiet. Damn it, how dare you attack Brother Yin? The few people who came with Yunhee were also furious. Two of them attacked wildly, charging towards Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian pressed him to the ground with a slap. Their bodies were torn apart, and blood splattered everywhere. The terrifying smell of blood made one's scalp feel like it was about to explode. Lin Xian's gaze swept in all directions with a trace of terrifying coldness. The others did not dare to act rashly. After suppressing the three of them, Lin Xian withdrew his hand. He slowly walked to the side, sat down, and poured himself a glass of spirit wine. He raised the wine glass and looked at Yunhee, who was being suppressed by the monstrous sea, and sneered. "Do you think I'm qualified?" There was a trace of mockery in his voice. Yunhee was so angry that his whole body was trembling. Damn it, not only did he beat him up and suppress him, he even dared to mock him. This was a slap in the face. The people around him were all heaven stage experts. If he could not fight back, how could he survive in the future? "Damn brat, I'm going to kill you. I must kill you." Yunhee screamed like a madman, and his killing intent soared to the sky. But he could not rush out at all. Lin Xian sneered. "You. Ada, kill him for me. Tear him into pieces." Yunhee roared. Boom. As the voice fell, the ground sank, and then a figure walked over. This was a burly man. He walked like a tiger and exuded the might of a dragon. His physique was extremely strong. The moment he appeared, the surrounding void shattered rapidly, unable to withstand a single blow. It was obvious that Ada was Yunhee's guard, and his strength was probably stronger than Yunhee's. Ada usually protected Yunhee's safety, but at this moment, his master was being suppressed here. He had long wanted to take action, and now that he received Yunhee's order, he no longer had any scruples. A large bronze hand stretched out and covered the sky. In an instant, it was above Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon trying to catch them. But his main target was still Lin Xian. "You want to compete with me in close combat?" Lin Xian had a strange look on his face. The dark red divine dragon beside him also sneered. He shook his head, knowing that Ada would end up badly. In the next moment, he raised his fist and punched forward. Boom. Their palms collided, and cracks spread out in the void. However, the Sunset Pavilion was not an ordinary place. The array was immediately activated and covered everything. Chapter 3295. The entire Sunset Pavilion was shaking. The violent power swept across the world, rushed out of the pavilion, and flew into the sky. Those who were still waiting outside and trying to go in all trembled. Their eyes were filled with horror. What a violent aura! Many people turned pale. At the same time, they were shocked. What was going on? Could it be that there were people fighting inside? Oh my God! What happened? They frantically reached out their souls, trying to find out. Inside the Sunset Pavilion, it was terrifyingly quiet. Only the sound of blood dripping could be heard. Ada, the terrifying strength-type half-saint, had his palm split open. His body trembled, and many cracks appeared. He kept retreating, his face full of shock. He had just exchanged a blow with the other party. In his opinion, the other party was powerful, but his strength was definitely not as strong as his. He might be able to suppress the other party with his own strength, but the outcome was beyond his expectations. He was defeated by the other party with one punch. The other party surpassed him in both strength and physique. He was no match for the other party at all. The surrounding people sucked in a breath of cold air. Just who was this kid? They did not know. They could not see his face clearly. They were blocked by the hazy light. Countless people's eyes shone with a piercing light. They wanted to see through Lin Xian's real face. However, they could not do it at all. On the other side, Yunhe, who was suppressed by the sea, saw the scene and his pupils shrank. How could it be? Even Ada was no match for the other party. Lin Xian withdrew his palm. He nodded slightly at Ada. The other party could take his punch without turning into a bloody mist. He had to admit that the other party's strength was not bad. But compared to him, the gap between them was like heaven and earth. What other tricks do you have? Show them all. Lin Xian picked up the wine cup again and swirled the spirit wine inside. Damn kid, don't be so arrogant. If my brother Guiyun Jian was here, you would not dare to be so presumptuous. Yunhe gritted his teeth. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? It seems that I haven't taught you a lesson yet. How about this? I'll suppress you for 100 years, then I'll teach you a good lesson. Lin Xian's voice was cold, and the others felt their scalps go numb. Yunhe was so angry that he vomited blood. The other party's tone was too arrogant. He treated him like a slave. Wang. But at this moment, the sound of a zither rang out, causing everyone to calm down. Even the killing intent and bloody light that filled the sky disappeared. It was as if a pair of gentle hands had come and soothed their hearts. What a strange sound. Lin Xian was also stunned and turned to look. In front of him, a beautiful figure in white walked over. She held a guqin and gently played it. His fingers, which were as smooth as white jade, moved across the zither strings. Immediately, a pleasant sound was heard. At the same time, a clear voice sounded. The Vermilion Bird Tournament is about to begin. Right now, the most important thing for the young masters to do is to relax and not fight. They were from the Sky Qin Palace. Many people cried out in surprise, revealing a trace of ecstasy on their faces. They had come this time to listen to the celestial music played by the prodigies of the Sky Qin Palace. Lin Xian also squinted his eyes. Indeed, the Sky Qin Palace had some tricks up their sleeves. This music contained a mysterious power. Alright, since the fairy said so, then he would spare his life. Lin Xian waved his hand and sent Ada and Yunhe, who was lying on the ground, flying out. The strong wind swept the two of them out of the Sunset Pavilion. The people outside were still using their souls to investigate. Suddenly, they cried out in surprise. They saw two figures fly out from inside, shattering the void and landing on the ground. Many large cracks appeared in the surrounding space, and many people frantically retreated. Who was this? They were puzzled. A few half-saints among them cried out in surprise. Heavens, it was young Master Yin. Young Master Yin? Which young Master Yin? The others were puzzled. Someone screamed. Of course it was Yunhe, young Master Yin. What? It was him. You mean that young Master Yin whose brother was the Cloud Sword and whose uncle was a saint? That's right, it was him. Many people cried out in surprise. After hearing this, the others gasped. They could not believe that such a terrifying young Master Yin had been beaten out. Heavens, who was the one fighting inside? A peerless genius? However, Even a peerless genius would not easily offend young Master Yin. After all, his uncle was a saint. The Yin family was a top family clan. Damn kid, just you wait. This matter will not be settled so easily. I'm going to tear you to shreds. Yinhe's face was cold, and he was trembling with anger. However, he did not attack again. Ada, let's go. The two of them tore through the void and escaped in an instant. In the sunset pavilion, the melodious sound of a zither could be heard. Everyone was intoxicated by the sound. Even Lin Xian was very surprised. Indeed, he found that the sound of the zither was helpful for him to comprehend heaven and earth. Needless to say, the person playing the zither should also be a half-saint. Moreover, it should be an extremely terrifying one. In addition, the sound of the zither and the zither itself should be a rare treasure in the world. That was why it could prevent others from comprehending the way of heaven and earth. After the sound of the zither, everyone was still comprehending. In front, the woman from the Sky Qin Palace had left. Where did the fairy go? After a while, someone opened his eyes in surprise. No one knew where she had gone. Lin Xian opened his eyes as well. A mysterious light flickered in his eyes. He was shocked and delighted at first, but then he shook his head with a bitter smile. The sound of the zither could indeed help him comprehend heaven and earth. However, there was also a troublesome matter. This was because his fragment of the law of fire had reached an extremely terrifying level. It was about to become a true law. Previously, it had almost attracted a heavenly tribulation. In other words, Lin Xian was about to break through. If not for the dark red divine dragon using the great dragon sword soul to set up a formation and forcefully suppress it, he would have broken through long ago. Now that he heard it, his fragment of the law of fire became uneasy again. It scared Lin Xian so much that he quickly cut off the connection and turned to comprehend other laws. The fairy had left. What a pity. After listening for a short while, I felt that I had a new understanding of heaven and earth laws. If I could listen to it for a long time, my cultivation and comprehension would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Indeed, it was no wonder that the prodigies of the Sky Qin Palace were so respected. There was a certain logic to it. A few other prodigies looked envious. They really wanted to marry a prodigy of the Sky Qin Palace as their wife. That way they could listen to the zither music every day. Stop dreaming. Even if someone from the Sky Qin Palace wanted to marry someone, it would be a peerless expert. We probably have no hope. Many people shook their heads and sighed. Let's go. The Vermilion Bird List competition will begin in a few days. Moreover, I seem to have gained some insights just now. Yes, I also need to go back and cultivate in seclusion for a few days. Who knows, I might be able to increase my cultivation temporarily. These people all stood up. Chapter 3296. The two of them had gained a lot of enlightenment this time. Especially the dark red divine dragon, who was even more excited. He had let go of his mind and was trying to gain enlightenment. However, at the same time, the void outside began to tremble violently as if it was boiling. A terrifying pressure pressed down from the sky. Initially, the people around the sunset pavilion were trembling and many of them were kneeling on the ground. Damn it, what's happening? They looked up. The sky was filled with countless experts descending from the sky. Strong cultivators, and many strong cultivators, as well as demonic beasts. They saw the powerful figures descending from the sky while riding on beasts. Some of them were stepping on chariots while others were descending from the sky. Every one of them was powerful. They were cold and murderous. Obviously, they were all experienced fighters. The leader was a tall young man with a cold expression. What? It's him. Yinhe. He's the one who was beaten up. Many people were shocked. At the same time, they knew that Yinhe was here for revenge. Moreover, he was here with a group of powerful figures. This group of people arrived in a grandiose manner, blocking the sunset pavilion. At the same time, the elites who came out of the sunset pavilion were also stunned. Then they glanced behind and revealed a look of anticipation. It seems that there's going to be a good show. They dodged to the side and crossed their arms. Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon frowned. In particular, Lin Xian had a cold look in his eyes. He looked up at the sky. It seems that letting you go was a wrong choice. Indeed, you made a wrong choice. Unfortunately, you let me go. This time, I won't let you go. I'll make you wish you were dead. Yinhe, who was in front, sneered with a hideous expression. So what if the other party is powerful? This time, I've brought a large number of powerful figures. Can't I defeat the two of them? Men, take this kid down. I'll tear him into pieces. Yinhe put his hands behind his back, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Buzz. At this moment, a figure made a move. It was an old man who moved like a ghost. He tore through the void in an instant, and arrived in front of Lin Xian. A large hand was clasping Lin Xian's head. That hand contained an extremely terrifying law fragment. The law of earth was incomparably heavy. It flickered in the old man's palm like a giant mountain that could crush everything. In an instant it enveloped Lin Xian. Around them, the onlookers retreated frantically. At the same time, they exclaimed, "It's over, that brat is dead for sure." Of all people to offend, he had to offend young Master Yin. Even 100 lives would not be enough to save him. Lin Xian's eyes exploded with a cold light. He raised his golden hand and released the laws of metal. With a palm strike, the thick earth formed by the law of earth was directly pierced through. That wasn't all. The slap landed on the old man's face and sent him flying. Pa! The crisp sound of a slap rang out. The half-step Saint Elder spun in the air for more than 300 times before flying backward. Half of his face was rotten and badly mangled. "Damn it, I'm going to kill you!" The half-step saint roared. With a frenzied roar and the law of earth, he moved quickly and rolled. The shadow of a huge mountain circled around him. Tens of thousands of mountains descended. Countless shadows of mountains, each of which was incomparably heavy, descended wildly. He wanted to kill Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian dodged calmly. He raised his golden hand and slapped forward again. Another crisp sound of a slap rang out. This time, the half-step saint's head was completely smashed into pieces. At the same time, Lin Xian's eyes flashed with a cold light. He quickly charged towards Yinhe. Yinhe was scared out of his wits when he saw that. He quickly retreated and shouted at the same time, "Stop him! Kill him for me!" Hearing Yinhe's order, the surrounding people all moved out. Ada was the first to move. His fists were like dragons that directly exploded a part of the world. Not only that, two more figures appeared beside him. Aer and Asan were his two brothers. They were also two half-step saints. The three of them together were really terrifying. The three brothers' methods were very strange. When the three of them worked together, it was as if they had 3 heads and 6 arms. Lin Xian faced the three of them. He crossed his arms and the law of earth quickly operated in his hands. Then he used the great dragon sword soul to form a huge cauldron. It stood tall like a divine cauldron, and threw it forward. Boom! The law that Lin Xian had comprehended was very powerful. The law of earth was much stronger than the previous half-step saints. In addition, the divine ability of the great dragon sword soul was really terrifying to the extreme. Therefore, when the divine cauldron was thrown out, the world instantly shattered. The surrounding people were all blown away. Not good. The three brothers' expressions changed drastically. Countless cracks appeared on their bodies in an instant. Retreat quickly. The power was too terrifying. The three of them wanted to escape, but the area covered by the divine cauldron was too large. Although it was heavy, the speed of its descent was very fast. In an instant, it enveloped the three of them. The three of them gritted their teeth and raised their hands to the sky, trying to block the descent of the divine cauldron. However, Lin Xian waved his hand, and the divine cauldron instantly descended again. With a boom, the three of them were blasted into a bloody mist. Ah! The three of them screamed. These 3 half-step saints could not die in a short time, but they could not break free either. They were firmly suppressed by the divine cauldron. Lin Xian turned his head and stared at Yinhe. Yinhe walked forward again. "Damn it, what are you all standing there for? Let's go!" Yinhe screamed like a madman. He realized that Lin Xian's gaze was too terrifying. It was as if it was going to pierce through him. At the same time, he was even more shocked. 3 half-step saints were easily suppressed by the other party. Who was this person? However, the surrounding people were a little hesitant. To be honest, Lin Xian's previous methods were too terrifying. He had directly suppressed them. This showed that the other party was definitely a strong person. He was also a top existence among the half-step saints. Perhaps, the other party was one of the favorites this time. However, they also knew Yunhe's identity. This was especially true for his uncle, who was a saint. A living saint. He was more terrifying than any elite. Therefore, at this moment when they heard Yunhe's order, they could only sigh and attack. The 6 of them joined forces. 6 half-step saints. This shocking scene was extremely shocking. Perhaps even a peerless elite would not be able to stop them. Lin Xian's face was cold. He really did not take the 6 half-step saints seriously. One had to know that he was only one step away from becoming a saint. His true strength was definitely not inferior to a saint's. He was confident that he could kill even a saint today. Not to mention these 6 half-step saints. However, at this moment, the dark red divine dragon flew up. Let's attack together. In order to prevent you from using all your strength. Okay. Lin Xian nodded and did not refuse. This was not good. Attack. Seeing another person rushing up, the 6 half-step saints' expressions changed and they quickly moved. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.